It's time to pull up a stool and grab your spot at the bar. The stadiums are dark, the scoreboards are off, and the final whistle has long since blown. But in here, the lights stay on. Welcome to the ETB Lounge on the Empty the Bench Network. This is your official post-game nightcap, where we break down the biggest hits, pour one out for the heartbreaks, and dive into the stories that linger long after the clock hits zero. Whether you're here for sharp analysis or one last round of sports talk with the best fans in the game, you've come to the right place. The games are over, and the conversation is just getting started.
All right, everybody, welcome one and all into the ETB Lounge. I'm Tom Albano, once again filling in for tonight, alongside Nick DiMartino this time around. We've got a packed 2 hours ahead covering sports, business, media, money, football, baseball, basketball, and there's always a few stories that'll make you stop and say, "Wait, what's actually happening here?" We're going to start with one of the biggest ownership stories in sports right now. The Lakers and the Buss family. After more than 4 decades of Buss family ownership, we're looking at a very real possibility that the family's remaining stake in the Lakers could be sold. Except Jeanie Buss is not going quietly. We'll get into the family feud, what Jeanie's trying to fight, what this means for the Lakers going forward, and whether we're watching the end of one of the most recognizable ownership legacies in American sports. And it leads us into the bigger sports business picture, because Mark Walter is now at the center of another major ownership conversation. He sold his stake in the Lakers, but the Dodgers aren't going anywhere, at least for now. So we'll talk about what would actually happen if Walter ever had to sell more of his sports empire, what a Dodger sale could mean for Major League Baseball, and we'll also get into the Padres entering a new ownership era. Then we'll shift over to the NBA, where the Kawhi Leonard investigation continues to somehow get stranger. ESPN reported that the NBA found no evidence Steve Ballmer funneled money to the Leonard through the Clippers sponsors, but the league also has pushed back hard on the reporting that Pablo Torre had and says the investigation is still ongoing. So what exactly do we know? What don't we know? And what does this entire saga become more embarrassing for the NBA than anybody involved? We'll also get into some of the more big NBA moves of the offseason that have recently happened. James Harden has signed an extension with Cleveland. DeMar DeRozan is heading to Denver, and the Peyton Watson deal with a 4-team trade. Which teams actually got better? Which moves have us scratching our heads? And who are we buying and selling heading into the new NBA season? We'll also talk sports media and the changing face of ESPN. The network is mourning the passing of founder Bill Rasmussen, the man who helped create the modern sports media landscape, at the same time that Pat McAfee's presence at ESPN continues to grow. Is ESPN simply adapting to what sports fans want in 2026? Or is the network becoming a little too McAfee heavy? We'll also get into Live Golf, which has now canceled the remainder of its planned 2026 season. Has LIV actually succeeded in changing anything in professional golf, even if its current business model isn't sustainable? Or are we actually watching the beginning of the end for the Saudi-backed experiment? And then last, but most certainly not least, football is here. The NFL is heading into its final preseason week. College football's week 0 is right around the corner. And we got a bizarre story connecting the two sports, where Browns tight end Daquan Wright is being waived, and if he clears waivers, he has an agreement to go play for LSU. NFL player potentially going back to college, not academically. Yeah, we're going to have some fun with that one and talk about what it can mean for the future of the college to pro pipeline. And we'll close things out with baseball. We're entering the final stretch of the MLB regular season, so we'll look at the contenders, the races, the teams that have the best shot at October, and then turn our attention towards something that can have a much bigger impact on baseball than anything happening on the playing field, the looming labor battle, and the possibility of another MLB lockout when the current CBA expires.
Yay.
Joining me tonight on the ETB Lounge, Nick DiMartino. This is the first time in a while that me and Nick D have been together on the ETB Lounge. Nick, how you doing?
Wasn't that long ago.
Feels like it happens a lot, actually.
Maybe did that happen at one point in July or June?
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Okay,
But
no,
yeah,
but the last couple of weeks I've been on, I haven't had you or Callan with me.
well, a couple of weeks ago I wasn't on. Yeah, 2 weeks ago I wasn't on. But last week, yeah, you weren't on. I don't know. I guess if you count weeks as a long time, I guess that counts. I'm doing all right, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing well. Oh, well, I say that, and meanwhile, we've also spent the last few weeks together on MTGP. So then
This is
again,
true.
actually,
This is
has
true.
not been that long.
Sorry.
I'll get to you in a second, but Dave Waitman of Hitting for the Cycle, usual figure around these parts on the lounge. Dave, how you doing?
Doing good, Tom. Just enjoying a good weekend. Roy, I mean, bummed. Look, we got about 2 more weeks left of summer. I'm a summer guy, but like I said, overall, it was a great weekend for sports, and the weather was fantastic.
Well, technically, I think summer ends on like September 20-something or something.
Yeah,
I think.
there's the technical angle.
Right, the technical angle, the seasonal angle, and
Right.
it's like that Earth Fire wins on the 21st night of September.
Right.
Joining on the ETB Lounge, we have a first timer here. Johnny Montalbano, Nick's co-host on Moving the Goalposts, longtime figure here at ETB, one of the big football guys, the head of the football forecast, which is coming soon. Johnny, it is great to have you here for the first time on the ETB Lounge. Welcome in.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be on with you guys. And Dave, it's great to actually, this is the first time David and I have been on together. So it's nice to see you, Dave. I know I'll see you hopefully during the football season as well. But it's great to be on with you guys. You know what? You can tell football's close because now I'm up late on a Sunday night. That's during a non-football Sunday. But it's great to be on. Great to be on with you guys. I'm excited for this. Let's do this thing.
Awesome. And of course, Ben Cruz joining us. You can listen to Ben on Hitting for the Cycle alongside Dave and on Gridiron Gurus, which is slowly about to creep back into its Sunday noon slot when it's going to lead us into all the NFL action every week.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Appreciate everybody for watching Hitting for the Cycle. We had over 900 viewers this past episode.
That was insane.
So I do greatly appreciate that for sure. Just let's keep going.
Absolutely. All right, so we got ownership drama, NBA controversy, sports media, golf, the return of football, the future of college athletics, and a potentially massive labor fight in baseball. A lot to get through, so grab a seat, settle in, and let's get the conversation started. Before we get into anything, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and you hit the notification bell so you get notified of everything here at the Empty the Bench Network. For those of you who are watching on the X platforms we're broadcasting out to, we thank all of you for your support. Hit like, hit repost, hit quote post, and then, of course, come to the YouTube home, youtube.com/ETB Network. We're over 3,000 watch hours now, over 1,160 subscribers, and we can't thank you all enough out there for all of your support. You continue to help us grow, and you guys are what makes ETB. And then, of course, you can make sure to like and follow the network on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Network. And you can follow this show at the ETB Lounge. And, of course, now here on the name tags.
But by the way, guys, I do want to point out right now, I love how, Tom, you and Johnny are both in like some type of bar or nightclub, and Ben is in front of his bed.
I'm in my
the dichotomy that I'm seeing here.
I'm just trying to get a little thematic here.
And you guys are behind you guys are in the same exact setting.
Yeah,
The same bar.
Yeah,
What a
we're
weird coincidence.
different sections of the same bar.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It looks like the same section, though. It's the same chairs on both sides.
Yeah, but you know, Tom's like on one side of the bar on the left-hand side, and I'm on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Split
You're
screen.
positioned the same way too. Like
Yeah, they're just mirrored images of one another. That's exactly what it is. So he's on the left-hand side of the bar, and I'm on the right-hand side.
You guys look like you're in a bar where like a mixed drink costs like $20.
Try $25.
New York City.
Welcome to New York, fan. Exactly, Johnny. Welcome to New York. All right. A lot that we got to get through, so let's start things off with the Buss Family Feud. If only I had Richard Dawson here to help me. I mean, I wish I had Steve Harvey here to help me out with this one.
Yeah.
I don't. They're already tipsy, so maybe they think they're in the same bar. I'm not tipsy, man.
No, that'll be me tomorrow, Nick. When I got to 3:30, when I got to get up at 3:30 in the morning tomorrow, so I can make it PGP. So it's all good.
Shout out Nick. Shout out Christy. Thank you guys for joining in. All right, let's talk about the Buss Family Feud, though, fellas. The Lakers' ownership story has somehow even gotten messier. The Buss family's remaining 17.8% stake is reportedly being sold to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner, which would bring the family's ownership of the Lakers to an end after more than 4 decades. 5 of the 6 siblings of the Buss family has support the sale, except Jeanie Buss is opposing the move and has challenged the proposed sale through her attorney, arguing that the family's trust arrangements and previous court orders prevent the transaction from happening as proposed. Jeannie's position is particularly significant because her ownership percentage and role as governor are intertwined. So to start things off, let's go to a co-host behind the bar with me, Nick DiMartino. Nick, does it surprise you that the Buss family's Lakers ownership could actually end this way?
No, because it sounds like the most Lakers thing. That would happen. Like, it's more chaos in the front office. Is any of that surprising? We've seen a whole lot of chaos in the front involving the Lakers in the last 20 years. None of this is really all that surprising. Like, I wouldn't have thought of this particular scenario, but yeah, it's not that surprising, especially when you have like a whole family that's owning the team. I mean, how many? What is it? 5 of her? What is it? 5 of the siblings are trying to sell, and Jeanie Buss is the one dissenter.
She's trying to use her position as governor to quash everything.
Which I don't know. I don't know if she's right or not, but I think might technically be correct under what the law or the rules actually are. I could be wrong. I don't know that much.
I think that's the center of the controversy.
Right. Is what is the legalese behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? It doesn't surprise me that much. Have you ever been able to get 6 people to agree on anything? Like, it's not that surprising that one person would be like, yeah, I'm going to object to this.
That's why we're 5 people tonight, because if we had a 6th person, it would.
hey, we're actually in trouble because Jaden Daniels is actually going to sue us now.
Yeah.
You know what, Jaden? I was with a group of 5 today out and about. So, Jaden, I didn't hear from you, so I'm thankful.
I mean, that reminds Nick, you saying that reminds me of the expression about 9 out of 10 dentists agree. It's almost like that 10th one. 9 out of 10 agree that one will always disagree with the other 9. David,
yeah.
To you, does a family ownership dispute like this eventually become a distraction for the basketball operation, though?
It could be. I mean, well, you look at. I think for the players, they're going to go about their own business. I mean, Luka took his own private jet and flew the entire team to where he lives to practice, train, and be together. That says a lot there. In regards to this lawsuit, I mean, this is only the first time that all 5 just said we want out. This had never been done before. It was always like 4-1 or 3-2. But it's also Jeannie's the same person who has fired 2 of her siblings. That was known as, that's previous history. What this comes down to is just it's a power thing for her. And Eisner and Iger just want to move on. Like they want to do. Mark Wahlberg wants to sell and get out because there's a possibility, pretty good chance, he's going to get indicted for fraud issues. So he's trying. He just sold his Chelsea team. He's trying to sell this. I don't know if he'll do the Dodgers or not, but like the dude needs capital, and he's just like, I just want to move on. So it's just like sell and get out. And then she's like, no. And that's why I said she probably also wants the deal too, which she has with Walter, where okay, you let me go, but I could be governorship for 5 years. Where I think Eisner and or Iger and Kushner are just going to go, look, we'll have you for a year, and then probably she'll get bounced because it's the ownership change, it's regime change, bring in some new people. So,
Nick,
yeah, it's true.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess on that note, going over to Johnny, because we're talking about the idea of potentially this becoming a distraction on the season, depending how long it goes, or what the future of the Lakers even is going to look like under the regime of Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. If you're a player or coach, how much do you care about who actually owns the franchise?
I don't think you care until you get asked repeatedly by reporters about it, because the media will bring this up. But anytime you have family, it feels like anytime you have families and sports trying to mix that in together, it usually leads to chaos. It can lead as we've seen up with ownership, and it can even lead down to just the players themselves. I've seen it. You know me as a diehard Knicks fan. When families get involved with players and stuff like that, it can cause chaos. That's what happened with Kristaps Porzingis, and one of the reasons why the Knicks got rid of him was his brother and got involved in the whole mess of Porzingis and the Knicks, and the Knicks ended up getting rid of him because I think it was his brother who was being a pain in the butt. So anytime families and sports, it seems like combine, a lot of the times leads to chaos, and now we're seeing it up at the ownership level. So I'm not surprised by all this. Tom, to answer your question, I think the players, it's hard not, in today's day and age, to not know what's going on and to know. I mean, you'd be crazy to say, oh, I don't know about it, or it doesn't bother me. It may not bother you, but you're going to get asked a million times about it, so it's hard to avoid it.
Fair enough.
I mean, look, to be fair, if I owned an NBA team and somebody was the cause of me not being an owner anymore, I would wish he wasn't born either. So,
oh my God.
I mean, that's fair.
Hey, not holding back.
All right. I guess on that note, Ben, has professional sports ownership become so valuable that family legacy eventually becomes secondary to the money? And in this case, this specific case, considering it is the Lakers, considering it is the Buss family, how much does the Buss family mean to the Lakers, even in a modern day sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, when you get families involved and a bunch of outside people regarding anything, especially during an organization like the Lakers, any big-time organizations, especially in a big-time city, there could be, like everybody else mentioned, there could be chaos that can be involved too. And I just think that, just looking at these overall type of people, like this seems like it's still ongoing, and it seems like there's still a lot of just added stuff that's more to it. So it's not like it's something that's completely in flux already. It's something that has to just keep going, and we have to figure out in terms of what's happening next. I mean, like, Dave mentioned, Luke obviously also, he brought the guys out for like a canoe trip, like out in the water, especially after the departure of LeBron. They went out, did outdoor stuff, and it's almost like he's taking like the role now. Like, I think that kind of he was like in the shadow when LeBron was kind of still there. But it's Luka's team. And I don't know how much Luka will have a say when it comes to this new ownership group coming in. But, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what
it works that way.
You want to know about something, too, they're telling us real quick, Ben? So supposedly, I guess with all this crap going on with the Lakers, you see some teams, if that thing gets worse, some teams have actually been contacting the Lakers, like, is Luka available for a trade?
I did read something about that. Yeah, you're right, Dave.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, like, if you were to say in a nutshell, it's a shit show out there. It really is. It's not the Lake Show. It's the shit show.
Well, I think I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And just say real quick, Jerry Buss would be embarrassed at what he's seeing right now, because he probably should just have said, "I'm selling. You guys will get all the money, and we're going to move on." But probably saw Jeanie as the golden child with the R5. It's like, you guys could do this, and it probably is like, man, if I had to do a redo, I would have sold and gone. Now maybe those 6 would have gone along, because now she's just burning every bridge.
Yeah.
I mean, for a billionaire, she looks miserable. She looks like a miserable human being. I mean, like I said, so I mean, I hope she loves her husband Jay more, because that's the only friend she's going to have her before at the end. I mean, to me, I would get Magic Johnson involved and kind of smooth it along and be like the negotiator to get her finally out of there.
I also didn't realize, I'm looking at like the front office Lakers up, I didn't realize that Tony Bennett was part of it now. He is a NBA draft advisor. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
I all I can say is I don't want to be around that Thanksgiving table come that holiday at the Buss family.
You're a turkey.
Oh,
Never put the soundboard already. Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall to hear that how that goes.
I mean, the oldest Buss kid's 70 years old. He just wants like his several $100 million and just go retire. 3 of them are in their 60s. Like it's like I get it. They want to cash out. They want to enjoy their retirement life and just enjoy peacefully. And you got to deal with this nut job.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Though 2 of Jeannie's brothers are also part of the new Padres ownership, which we will talk about in just a second. But I guess staying somewhat Laker related, but going to the other side of it, as we've talked about, part of this whole bonanza with the Lakers is because Mark Walter is selling off his sports empire because the feds are coming after him. So he sold off the Lakers. He sold off, as Dave mentioned, Chelsea. And now there's been all this speculation about what is next. Maybe if he has to sell off more, could it be the Los Angeles Dodgers? Mark Walter's $12.5 billion Lakers sale immediately sparked questions about whether the Dodgers could be next. At least for now, the answer is an emphatic no. Dodgers president Stan Kasten said on Friday, quote, "The Dodgers are not being sold. They are not for sale. There is no process underway to sell the franchise." Walter is dealing with federal scrutiny surrounding his broader business empire, which has naturally generated questions about whether more sports assets could eventually be sold. Dodgers, however, remain his crown jewel and appear to be staying put. David, as one of the baseball guys, if Mark Walter ever sold the Dodgers, would this fundamentally change the competitive balance of the MLB right now?
Would it change it? I don't think anything is going to get really changed until this whole lockout thing is finalized. I mean, they'll if he has to sell, they'll put somebody else in there who's got dough, and they'll just keep the ship running in Dodger Town. Right now, but overall, I don't know because of the whole future lockout thing that's coming up here. So,
well, I guess on that note, Nick, if Walter ever did have to sell, would you kind of, because it seemed like Dave, you were saying that basically they'll spend at the same level. They'll just insert somebody in and they'll just continue to be, well, who the Dodgers are right now.
Yeah, basically, because Dodgers got influx of money with Japan and everything else. They're just loaded beyond belief. Yes.
And still be willing to defer as much money as they have.
Yeah, until the lockout thing. Then they might knock that off the board. They might close all the loopholes and then figure out what the ceiling is and what the basement is.
That'll be an interesting situation. Nick, do you agree? If Walter ever had to sell, would you not have to worry about the Dodgers' willingness to spend at the same level?
Well, it would depend on who they're sold to. That would be like whoever takes over. So it's hard for me to answer that question because I don't know who's going to be in the picture. I would still imagine that the Dodgers would be the team would still be willing to spend a lot of money. They're a big market team. They have a lot of money.
Right.
But I don't know. It really just depends on whoever is going to be there next. And you also have to remember, if there's a lockout and then there's a new CBA, that might change things a lot. So there's a whole lot of moving parts. It's hard to actually really know.
I guess on that note, it's like the MLB and will defer the lockout to.
Well, even if there is no lockout, if you have different ownership, that can vastly affect how much a team spends. Just look at the Mets with the Wilpons and Steve Cohen. They were like polar opposites. The only difference was ownership. That was all it was, and that can change everything in a franchise.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at the Yankees. I mean, when Hal and Hank took over for George, I mean, they haven't been the same team. They haven't been going like crazy since George passed. I mean, they've looked different. The way they've gone about that team has been different. So I think Nick D and David both make valid points with the lockout, and it also it depends. I mean, owners. You know what it is like? It's like owners can be like GMs and coaches and stuff. They come in, they want to run it their own way.
Yeah.
Do you think if George was still running the Yankees, Aaron Boone would still be the manager?
No.
No.
And I Nick D, here's the crazy thing. If you look at George's history, I don't know if Aaron Judge would have ever made the Yankees.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
Johnny and Nick, I'll take it one step further. Considering everything you're saying, and as Johnny and I know from being within this Yankee fandom, everything that the fans are saying and thinking about George ourselves, I don't even know if Brian Cashman would be the GM of the Yankees at this point.
No.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, Cashman feels like he's got a lifetime contract because of the 90s and the 2009 championship.
Which some of which was from Stick Michael.
Fair. It's a word that's been thrown about. We've seen it a lot in the NFL. Things just grow stale. But the Yanks have actually been one of these teams. Oh, Christy, absolutely, it's inevitable. It's just the only question is how long is the lockout going to be? Not if it's going to happen, is how long. But think about the Yanks since let's say 21st century even. They've almost become like the Steelers and the Ravens and other teams in the NFL, where they've only had 3 managers. They've had Torre, Girardi, and Boone.
Yeah.
So really, what Nick D and David are saying are exactly right. It depends on the owner, and it depends on this lockout situation and how long this lockout's going to be. Nick was joking about the fur thing. There was a report out, I believe they said that the MLB and MLBPA weren't even going to talk about core economic issues until November. The lockout's in December. I don't think there's any sign of desperation from either of these two sides to meet and talk about this stuff.
Yeah, well, Nick, Johnny, on that note, Jeff Passan was recently made a podcast appearance, and he said, honestly, I'm not worried about that. He said, now if this stretches into February, now we're going to be in trouble.
This has been building up, Tom, for 5 years. They had the COVID situation in 2020, which the players and stuff acted so dumb about, as a lot of the country was struggling with the COVID pandemic, and these players took one of their full contracts for a 60-game season. And then you had that 99-day lockout, which was in the very early days of when I joined the network back in 2022. You had that 99-day lockout, which it looked like they just agreed to something at the very last minute to only delay the season by a week. So this has been building up for 5 years now. This whole salary cap situation just added on to it, and it just absolutely exploded it to the point of where we are now. I think eventually, the lockout, just like Christy made that comment, it's inevitable. The only question to me is not if the lockout's going to be happening, but how long is it going to be, and how much of next season is going to be missed.
And that's the thing, during a time like COVID, where people were losing their jobs, people were losing their lives, people basically lost their ways of life. You had the players and the owners, or as I call it, the millionaires and billionaires, in all these arguments about, how much they were going to pay and how long they were going to play for, these protocols, that protocols. Imagine we lose games now for 2027. If they weren't willing to give up, if they had this much of a fight back then during a time of national, if not global crisis, what's going to happen at this stage?
Yeah, and look at what happened 5 years ago. I mean,
Right.
I was amazed that it only ended up being a week. The season only was delayed by a week, because that was a pretty bad fight, and this one seems 100 times worse than that one does.
Mm-hmm. I guess on that note, to bring it back to the panel questions, Ben, since we're going to bring up the lockout, obviously if Walter ends up selling his stake in the Dodgers, we don't know when that is going to be. Could you see that kind of ownership change, however, especially when the Dodgers have become such a focal point, for better or worse, for one reason or another, fair or unfair, they are at a center point of this conversation. Do you think that a change in ownership for them, one way or another, could, whenever it happens, could affect this kind of lockout?
Yeah, 100%, because you don't know exactly what type of ownership is coming in. We talk about the Lakers, I think, with their own ownership group. The Dodgers, I think, are a very well-run organization. Of course, we've seen it for a while. But every single time that you bring in a new ownership group, regardless in terms of how your franchise is run, you really just do not know. Obviously, the players on the field, they'll be great. Don't get me wrong. But it's obviously, it doesn't matter what the player's performance is if you don't have good at the top, right? So, obviously, there's so much that the players can do that the ownership cannot, can do for themselves. And, obviously we are going into a lockout. I think, David, our show coming up is not going to be hitting for the cycle anymore. It's going to be called Hitting for the Lockout, unfortunately.
I said hitting for the minors because I've said on show with Ben, I said next season not one game gets played.
Yeah, so
been on that train as well, Dave.
I agree.
And I don't want to think about that per se, but the more that you just accept it, the better you're just going to feel about it, because I think that there's more of a chance that I win the lottery at this point than having games happen next year.
Yeah, I told everybody, find hobbies. Golfing, movies, go to the mountains, go hiking.
The good news is it'll be during the summer where the weather is nice. You don't need baseball as much. At least it's not going to be when it's frigid cold temperatures.
Well, I don't know if I always say maybe Giant. I remember vividly still the '94 lockout, and it was they didn't have a lot of the stuff back then. You didn't have like breweries, wineries. It was just like, all right, now what do we do? And it was just that way. And so now people are like, I'll go find something else to do.
So the thing is, well, I do agree with Nick's point. I do think there'll come a time where it'll be a nice Sunday in August, and we're just kind of sitting and be like, well, we did kind of everything out there. We played golf, we went to the beach, and we're almost at the time where summer's almost over. It's like you just kind of have that itch feel, right? So I do agree with you, Nick. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff. There'll probably come a point in time, kind of towards the end of the dog days of summer, where it's like, wait. There's not baseball, where it should be baseball. It's like, oh, we got to deal with this.
Well, two things. First of all, do you think the lockout will last that long? I don't know. The other question is, then we at least have college football coming up. So
fair, but I do think for most baseball fans, I think that just even for some games to be going on throughout the summer, I think is just better than nothing. Now, I think most of us baseball fans accept that there's going to be no season coming up, but I do agree though. How long is it going to happen for? I don't know personally. I wish I did, but I think if you ask me right now, I think that if we're going to have any type of baseball, it's going to be only like 50, 60 games at best.
This reminds me of 2005 NHL all over again. Those owners sacrificed the season to get that salary cap. Mm-hmm. These owners who have that treasure chest, by the way, several $100 million each of them for next year, have it in their security area in case, for bills and whatever it is, they will sacrifice the season so they get that salary cap in 28. I've heard even the reports too, now that supposedly President Trump wants to get involved in this too. May I add?
We will talk about that much later on during the show. We will have
Trump wants to get involved in the lockout.
Yes, he does.
So
we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Wait, Nick.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we will get to it at some point later on during the show. I don't know if he personally has said he wants to get involved anyway, or if this is just a report of speculation, because President Clinton did try to get himself involved during the 94-95 lockout.
I mean, Congress got involved with the steroid scandal.
Yeah, that's true. What's that? Worst commissioner in sports right now instead of owner. Rob Manfred or Kathy Engelbert?
Oh, Kathy Engelbert. Engelbert's not even close.
Kathy Engelbert, Nick.
And Manfred's terrible, but even I would tell you that Kathy's worse than he is, and that's saying something.
Yep. We've spent a lot of time at this network constantly bashing Kathy Engelbert. I think there's a reason for that. Johnny, just to wrap things up, the reason Walter is being brought up so much is because, well, apparently there's a clause in a certain player's contract that if Mr. Walter ever sold his stake in the team, he could opt out. And that player is one Shohei Ohtani. But what's the realistic chance of such a thing happening?
Very slim, Tom. I mean, unless, some teams would, break the bank, go like a Juan Soto type contract, which I just don't see that happening, even though he's a two-way player. But I think eventually he's going to become a one-way player. I wouldn't say there's a 0% chance, but I would say it's in the single digits. Look, Ohtani's got it made out there in LA. I mean, what do you say, 3%?
I go 3%.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it made out there in LA. I mean, it's an easy flight. It's an easy flight to get over to Japan for him. he's got it made out there that, I mean, what that organization's
What
got.
team is going to give him that kind of contract that the Dodgers have given him?
There really isn't any.
None, right. I'm not going to go complete zero because this is baseball and we've seen crazier things happen in sports, but I'll go 3%.
Well, just think about it though, Tom. I mean, what is the situation with the salary cap going to be if this ever had that option of happening?
Right. And Johnny, what's the situation if there's a cap and a floor? You're going to have that question for multiple teams across the league.
That's why this is a disaster for baseball. It really is.
Well, I mean, Otani's only getting paid like $2 or $3 million for the Dodgers. It's all that deferred money.
Right.
So that's why they got to close the loophole.
Right. But again, Dave, you're talking about closing the loophole. Again, that's going to be an issue that affects multiple teams. Because if a cap's coming in, then, who on the Dodgers is going? Who on the Mets is going? Who on the Yankees is going? Who on the Red Sox, the Phillies, all the big market teams. And then, who are the small market teams going to be adding to get to a floor if one is instilled?
Right.
There's a lot of questions here, and it's a shame because baseball, is, so we've talked about, on such a high. Now, just as a little bit of a quick hit to end things, we did have an ownership change as well in the baseball world for certain, and that is the Dodgers' rival in the NL West, the San Diego Padres. It's a shame Callan is not here to talk about this. MLB owners unanimously approved the sale of the Padres to the group led by Jose E. Feliciano. No, not the guy who sang Feliz Navidad, a different person.
I was thinking about that one.
And Kwanzaa Jones. That's funny how I made that.
Oh, wait, that's not real.
I can't believe I made that joke. I can't believe I made that joke, and then I read the second name. I'm like, oh, it's the holidays.
Oh, we only got 4 shopping months till Christmas, so it's coming.
Yep. The reported valuation, by the way, $3.9 billion. That is my friends an MLB record. Where is it? I got to get used to that. Sounds and Football Forecast is coming back.
It's coming, yep.
Feliciano is going to become the team's control person. Eric Grupner is going to be the CEO and president of baseball operations. General manager AJ Preller is expected to remain in place. The new ownership group is scheduled to be introduced at Petco Park actually tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, counts with that. Yeah.
Yep, that'll be something to watch out for. Quick hits, quick thoughts, guys. David, how much pressure is there to maintain the aggressive philosophy that was established in the Peter Seidler regime?
I'd say there's pressure. I mean, especially when your neighbor above you is winning titles back to back, and San Diego has not won one ever. So yeah, there's always going to be pressure. Absolutely.
Johnny, does new ownership make the Padres more or less likely to spend heavily?
Well, we don't know because we don't know if this guy is going to be an aggressive guy. That's
fair. I guess it's just a lot of questions with that because the Padres, when they were, they had that big push, trying to acquire top talent like Manny Machado, Juan Soto. They had Fernando Tatis in their system, and then ownership died, and the family ended up making the selling, and that's when you saw the Padres go into a retooling, and now they're back into a competitive thing. They're back into competitive things. I guess my feeling is that there's got to be that pressure, like Dave said. You had a quick turnaround. Now to be competitive again, you want to maintain that.
Absolutely, and Dave's right. I mean, when you're in the same division as Dodgers, you absolutely are. And I think you made a great point. They weren't rebuilding the team; they were restructuring the team. There's a big difference with doing that. And when you look at the talent that they have and the players or the names on that team, like a Tatis and a Machado and others, of course, there's going to be pressure to keep it going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Nick said Dave Sampson told us on Press Row, him and Callan, that the deferred money rule is insane. The money has to be in an escrow account for 1 day. Yeah. 1 day only.
That's one of the best interviews in the history of this network. Go check that out after the show.
Nick says it is real, and they are married.
Yeah,
Jose E. Feliciano, who has the same name as the person who sings Feliz Navidad, is married to a woman named Kwanzaa.
If they don't do well, they'll be getting lots of coal in their stockings from fans and owners, from fans and others. Yes.
Jose will be aggressive as he. Oh, okay, that's interesting. He's also the owner of Chelsea FC.
Well, we'll find out.
I guess that.
But how aggressive? But again, here comes the thing, though. How aggressive can he be? How aggressive can he be? With the situation with the lockout, and what the rules will be when he gets the opportunity to make these things, choices.
I guess on that note, and I'll throw this question over. I'll throw this question over to Nick because, we talk about the pressure that they're under between the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series, the aggressive philosophy under Sedler, but we have also seen teams, franchises in Major League Baseball not spend as much, but still find great success. So do they need to maintain this aggressive spending philosophy, especially given the cap situation or non-cap situation that we don't know about, as Johnny just made mention of?
Well, I would put it more like, I don't think it's so much about this aggressive spending. Ultimately, what matters is whether or not it works. Like, if you look at Steve Cohen, he's spending aggressively, but none of us Met fans are happy with him because none of the spending is any good. Like, if the Padres are just missing all the time under this new ownership, even if they spend just as aggressively as the previous guy, it's not going to matter. The fans aren't going to accept that. It really ultimately just depends on whether or not they hit.
Fair enough.
I mean, like you said, but I do think they're under a lot of pressure to become more to win a World Series, because the Padres have been a very good team for at least a couple of years. They didn't win, but they were a very good team and they could have won. And when you get close, there is always a lot of pressure, a little bit like the Bills. The Bills were close. The Bills have never won. They're close. So they're under a lot of pressure to win the Super Bowl. I think it's a similar concept.
Okay. And Ben, to wrap things up, is San Diego now one of the most important MLB markets, to watch entering the next CBA?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and Callan mentioned it obviously on Henry for the Cycle. We appreciate obviously having him come on. With this group that they had from Siler to who they have now, is I think for what they want to do is they want to retool and just reload. They don't want to start moving on from a bunch of their key pieces. They want to just keep on hopefully getting some more pieces. Now, like DiMart was mentioned, I do agree. Like, it doesn't matter how much sometimes that you spend. Sometimes you're just not going to physically hit. And then all of a sudden you're just kind of in okay, well, maybe that's not going to be the best way to do it anymore down the road. But you at least kind of have to go try and see, especially like David mentioned, and you have the team, the Dodgers, that's right next to you. That is obviously right now currently not only the standard for California in terms of your competitor in the division, it's the standard for baseball. So I think just right now there's a lot of pressure personally, but it comes down to who is going to be the guy or the woman, of course, moving forward to take ownership of what the future is like, and can they bring them to a championship as well too, because they've been consistently able to get there, but can they get over the top? I think that's the biggest thing.
All right, we're going to move off of the ownership talk. We're going to move on to the court of basketball. But just, I guess, Ben, because you just mentioned it as a nudge to us, where is it?
Yep.
Enes Kanter was kicked out of a WNBA game tonight, everybody.
I just saw the video.
So much for freedom.
I didn't.
Yeah. Really?
This guy was a Nick at one time, too. Oh
yep.
He also just put a tweet out. He said, I just got kicked out of a WNBA game for supporting women. Let that sink in, America.
Why am I thinking the league is just going to ban him from all arenas? Like WNBA was. Yeah, those like we're tired of this nonsense. Okay, you can go. And then they'll do it too with the other guy, Royce White. I know he was chirping about some WNBA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
he also had another tweet saying it was always women hating on other women, because obviously it's going on in the NBA game. So Cancer and Natasha Cloud who plays, I believe, on Chicago Sky. They essentially started it. I guess Cantor had like some like words, and I guess Cloud's just kind of going back and forth, and all of a sudden there's a little scrum by the court side, and they said, "Listen, you're out of here."
This league continues to shoot itself in the foot because, if they actually had a stronger commissionership that wasn't Kathy Engelbert, a lot of this nonsense would have been nipped in the bud earlier, and we wouldn't be seeing stuff like this happening.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Especially with
as Morrison mentioned, who's the better commissioner? Right on cue. We have it.
Well, here's a question I'll just throw out there. Regarding the league, do you know anything about like who's doing well in the league? Like, has there been like mentioned at all about who's doing well individually, who's doing well team wise? I mean, you heard a little bit about the Minnesota team, but there hasn't been hardly anything.
Well, Cunningham seems to be
how bad the league is run. Was that Nick? I'm sorry.
Sophie Cunningham.
Cunningham
is having a good year.
I think what Dave's point is, you never hear stories about what goes on the court. It's because always the controversies.
No, he's right. And the thing is, because there's too much drama going on in the WNBA for anybody to really care about what's going on the court. And also, you have to remember this. The WNBA as a game is not popular the way the NBA is. So drama in the WNBA will always come first. It's not the same thing as the NBA.
I'm not trying to compare it to. I'm saying is when you get to the NBA, you hear about, LeBron James, Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, whoever it is. Individually, you might get AJ Wilson, whatever. So I haven't heard one thing all this year about Caitlin Clark in terms of how she's playing on the court. It's been ejections, fights. Sophie Cunningham, it was the point, and then there was her comments with the whole thing regarding trans, and then it was this. It's just there's nothing about teams, individual players. That's like I said when you were seeing how this league is run. It's run like shit. Bottom line, it's a horrible league, and
I'm not gonna lie though. I love the Sophie Cunningham point. It was iconic.
Right.
It was iconic.
Yeah. So another thing too about the league is it's competition, and you're essentially stuck up with some of the massive core other sports that just get a lot more media. But DiMar, like mentioned, I mean, there are names out there for the league, but it's all off the court. So it's the matter of if you actually saw a lot more performances that were on the court that were, whether it's historical or any just big time games that are going on, like you're not going to get a lot of like coverage essentially. I mean, and it's not a knock on these women per se, because I think a lot of them are super talented, but you're obviously competing with baseball, you're competing with golf. Heck, I'm a big golf fan, so I mean, I'll say that. But you just have other competition, unfortunately, like there. I mean, you look at the NBA. I mean, the NBA obviously has NHL and NFL. So you also have just kind of that point, too, where you just know that the men's sports are just going to be a bigger focal point. And if there's going to be anything in the WNBA, it's going to be just something that's going to be more to the side than be the spotlight.
All right. Let's go over to the NBA itself because they are dealing with their own controversy, one involving Kawhi Leonard and the other Los Angeles team, Steve Ballmer and the Los Angeles
little
Clippers.
brother team.
Little brother, the Clippers.
The redheads.
The NBA's investigation into the Clippers' Kawhi Leonard situation is continuing to drag on, and now the league is saying that it has found zero evidence Steve Ballmer funneled money to Leonard through team sponsors. The NBA also coming up against the ESPN report or Pablo Torre's report, strongly pushing back and saying that it contains significant inaccuracies. Pablo Torre trying to hint at us that maybe there might be more to the story than meets the eye. The investigation itself is not done. It continues on is the thing. Kawhi has not been cleared. It's that we've got the most explosive allegation that may not have been substantiated, but the NBA is not ready to close the book just yet. Then I'm going to start with you. Has this investigation become more damaging to the NBA than it has to the Clippers or anybody else involved?
100%, because there should have been a resolution a long time ago. And right now, currently, they're just the more that you just add to it, it's more the fact is like you're doing more damage not only to just the PR that he has personally on the player, but just the overall league. I mean, just look at we talk about commissioners. Like Adam Silver, like, have you really heard about Adam Silver just saying, like, all right, let's just get to the chase here. Let's figure something out and just get moved on this over with. I mean, I think, for Kawhi, the thing about Kawhi and the reality is he's a part-time player at this point in time of his career. It's because he just doesn't play any more games like he used to be. He's obviously super talented, but the Clippers are probably looking at the situation and be like, well, I mean, he wants to move on, but the Raptors obviously are dealing with the situation that has not been resolved ever since, of course, it came to fruition, but Toronto wasn't aware about it. So it's like a chicken and the egg type of situation where the Raptors didn't know about it, but obviously the Clippers, of course, want to move on, and there's never been something that's meet in the middle, and there's something that should have been met in the middle a long time ago, and it's taken a hit on everybody.
Johnny, if the NBA ultimately finds wrongdoing but no direct money funnel like they're claiming, what would an appropriate punishment look like? Whether it's the Clippers, Ballmer, Kawhi, wherever.
Well, Kawhi, you would think it has to start with him. You would think. Now, remember, there's a trade that's still, pending all this with the Raptors and stuff. But here's the problem. Whatever punishment's going to come, and this is the NBA's reputation as of late, whatever punishment's going to come down is probably not going to be harsh enough, whether that's none or minimal. Like, I mean, do you trust the NBA to come even as long as it is, and you have Adam Silver come out and say, well, we want this to be done quick, but he says it in such, not any sort of desperation. I don't trust that whatever is going to come out is going to be the right. It's going to be the right solution to this.
It's like the NFL and the wheel of discipline, as I call it.
Well, the problem with the NFL's wheel of discipline is that it usually only applies to like domestic violence situations. I mean, they could get drug suspensions and personal conduct violations, right? But they never seem to get the domestic problems. And the NBA, and here's the thing, Adam Silver, when he first took over as commissioner, had the situation with Donald Sterling with the Clippers, and he was so good on that, such a great example and great precedent. And it seems like ever since that moment, he has failed in every situation that's come up possible.
See, we got a comment from Bass his ass.
That's going to be more, yeah.
Adam Silver's 170 billion reasons to cover for Ballmer. Will never kick him out of ownership. Kawhi needs to be suspended until resolution.
Yeah,
there was that feeling from Torrey and I think from somebody else who said they didn't see any punishment coming down because Silver wanted to maintain a good relationship with Ballmer and company. And, of course, his reputation of being a players commissioner.
Yeah, I don't think Ballmer's going to get anything out of this. I don't think it's going to be the organization. If there's anything that's going to come down, it's going to come down on Kawhi. But I don't know if they're going to come down on him.
Well, I mean, even if they do come down on Kawhi, he misses so many regular season games anyway. It's not going to be much of a punishment. I mean, it would be like suspending a starting pitcher. Like
because he is Mr. Load Management.
So yeah, exactly. The thing is, like, if they suspended him, he's going to be missing half the games anyway. There's something going on. I mean, it doesn't really matter to him. So,
well, I guess on that note, Nick, I'll go to your question then. We talk about this trade being able to hold up, and you just mentioned how Kawhi misses games. Can Toronto realistically wait for clarity on Kawhi, or if they're going to continue to make a signing or this trade or whatnot, like, does it just have to be done anyway, under the presumption he may not be there?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because nobody's talking about Toronto, like the Toronto aspect of it all, which is that they don't know if they're even going to be able to go through with the trade. And it could really, it might not make a huge difference in the regular season because he's going to miss so many games. But when it comes to the postseason, Kawhi can still make a really big difference. So I think and the Raptors, they didn't do anything wrong. They just traded for him. So for them, it's all up in the air. I don't know how long they're willing to wait. I mean, I guess to them it might be worth it because it's not really I guess they can wait on some level, but they prefer not to. But yeah, the Raptors are in a weird position. They definitely are.
Because that's the thing. Like that's the thing with the Clippers and the Raptors. You know, they may be waiting on this trade to go through, but they don't know when it's going to go through because we don't know when this investigation is going to be completed because it's been a goddamn year since this has started. And, you know, the NBA regular season start date is not moving. So they got to figure it out one way or another, whether this investigation and trade are done or not, whether this trade goes through or not. Like they're stuck in this at this point.
Well, the thing is, if the trade doesn't go through, the Raptors are in a similar position to where they were last year, right? Fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
If it does go through, they're definitely in a slightly better position, but it's definitely preferable if it goes through for them.
David, does the NBA's public pushback against the ESPN story, does this make this story even stranger?
I guess for me, when I look at that whole thing, there's several things about it. First of all, I believe in what Pablo Torre wrote. Because some of the stuff he's done in the past, I have not heard ever once him like being accused of like bad journalism. Because there's stuff with this I also have issues with too. Like my things was with that aspiration. Why aren't they talking to anybody there and saying, okay, unless like maybe they're afraid of criminals, I don't know what it is, but you go with the money stuff. What did you do with Kawhi? We did A, B, and C. Did Ballmer get involved? Yeah, he did this or he didn't do anything. The NBA I think wants it to go away, and it won't. They probably want a lot of this stuff to go away, and it will, like they want to talk about the season coming up and say you got to deal with the Lakers and their nonsense, and now you're dealing with the Clippers and their nonsense. It's unreal. No, I think the NBA probably wants this to go away more than anything else, and it's not going to go away until the season starts. And by then, they'll be glad when season starts to talk about basketball and not this.
Well, here's my advice. If you want it to go away so badly, finish the investigation. Actually do your job.
Yeah.
Camps are opening up in the next few weeks. Season's less than 2 months away.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? We're not too far away from football season, fellas. It's basically here. And whether you're backing traditional Big Ten powerhouses or looking for value out west in the Pac-12, college football season isn't just about who wins. It's about who covers. And if you want the sharpest news, deep team breakdowns, and the best against the spread angles before you set your Saturday slate, you need to be locked into Forever Power 5 and the Empty the Bench Network. Join Big Ten insider Zan Bando and Pac-12 expert James Myers every week as these two classic conferences get acquainted. Zan and James break down the biggest storylines, analyze matchups, and deliver the betting edges you need to keep your bankroll in the green. Don't lock in your bets without hearing their take first. Catch Forever Power 5 with Zan Bando and James Myers every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Empty the Bench Network, premiering this Wednesday, August 26th. The time is here, fellas. Tune in, get the edge, and cover the board only on the Empty the Bench Network. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. It's time for, in the words and the way that Tony Reale would say it, college.
Yes.
It's college time. You got Forever Power 5 on Wednesdays with Xana James, and then Nick D has Forever Power 5 after hours. So
correct.
Are you doing the one for week 0 or are you starting week 1?
Week 1.
No.
All right.
Boo.
And then
it's not
I don't know if we want Nick D to be breaking down that USC San Jose State game.
Oh yeah,
38.5-point favorite, by the way.
Zero nonsense. You want me to do that all by myself?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Late at night. I mean, I'd be. I mean, there are a couple of good games though. Week 0. I mean,
Carolina TCU to start the
Billy Belichick,
and then Virginia's got a good game too at 3. I believe that's at 3:30.
Yeah, NC State.
On Saturday. Yeah, that's. I mean, there's some. You know, it's the feeling that it's back. It's a little appetizer before the big
real football too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Not preseason football.
Yep. You have to see starters with big time crowds. You just get that itch back, and that week 0 is the best. It just is.
We will talk more about that itch, but we will talk about more about that itch later on in the show. But this Wednesday night, Xana James for Forever Power 5. Saturday morning, I believe 10 a.m. Eastern, you're going to have Trevor with Gridiron Gridlock. That's going to be making its return. And then Nick DiMartino will join them next week on September 5th, late at night for Forever Power 5 After Hours. Football season is here. College season's here with week 0. We'll talk more about that, but we're going to go back to the NBA first for just a little bit. Mike Bass coming out knocking the story seems more like damage control and deflecting. Pablo Torre beat the NBA to the punch, and it's time to admit the facts and move on.
I think he's right. I think Nick's 100% right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the on-the-court stuff, the front office stuff, with some notable moves, because we had a few this past week. James Harden has signed an extension with Cleveland. As I said on MTGP, this latest stage in his career, and he's still getting bags of money.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan going on to Denver. Veteran scoring addition to a Nuggets team that's still built around Nikola Jokic. Peyton Watson, you had a 4-team trade that Cleveland was also involved in, adding another younger piece, trying to make a major investment. Johnny, I'll start with you on this, and I'll put your focus on Denver. Is Denver's offseason actually making the Jokic window smaller rather than bigger?
Well, it improves their chances, but to me, it still doesn't take them above the Spurs and the Thunder. It still puts them in that second tier. Maybe at the top of the second tier, but they're to me are still not better than the Spurs and the Thunder. And it almost feels like they're wasting a golden chance for Jokic here because he's been around now. I mean, he's one of the better players in the league, but he's been playing now for quite some time, and he's been having some injury problems as of late too. So I like DeRozan as a solid player on that team, but I don't think that they still get above the Spurs or the Thunder. That's why I actually thought that maybe a dark horse team for LeBron to go to would have been the Nuggets, because I think on that team with Jokic and with Murray and others, I think that's what could have propelled the Nuggets to maybe be in that top tier with the Spurs and the Thunder. DeRozan's a nice player, but I still don't think it's enough to get them over the top there in the West.
Nick, going over to the Eastern Conference briefly, we keep mentioning Cleveland with the Harden extension, the move for Peyton Watson. Is Cleveland, obviously you and I have talked about on MTGP, the idea of, and you've talked about it with Nick Morganson, I believe, as well, the idea of the Atlantic Division and just how stacked it is, with the Knicks, Celtics, and Sixers all vying for not just the top of the Atlantic, but the top of the Eastern Conference. And obviously Detroit's still going to be in the mix. Where is Cleveland here? Is Cleveland a legitimate Eastern Conference contender after all of this, plus the moves that all these other teams have made?
Yeah, I think they are. I don't. They wouldn't be my pick to go to the finals, but no, they absolutely are. I think there's a legitimate possibility that they could have the best record in the East. Now, that's not always a good proxy for who the best teams are in the playoffs. I'm not saying I think we're going to see anything that much different from what we've seen from the Cavs. But, yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said no. And I think you're lying to yourself if you say that they're not a contender to come out of the East. Because the East is heavily flawed. And I think they'll at least be one of the best regular season teams in the playoffs next year. I'm sorry, that made no sense. They'll be one of the they'll at least, I think, probably be one of the best regular season teams in the East next year. In the playoffs, you never know. Last year in the playoffs, they completely laid down and died against the Knicks. But then again, so did everybody else who went up against the Knicks. I don't think it was unique to the Cavs. I mean, the Spurs were only able to take the Knicks to 5 games. So it is possible that the Cavs could be a fairly good playoff team. The reason I say that is because last year, the Cavs, you do have to remember, were a resilient team in the playoffs. They won 2 7-game series, came back from being down 3-2 in both of them before they got swept by the Knicks. So maybe there could be a turning point, but I do think they'll be one of the better teams, one of the better regular season teams in the East, for sure.
Dave, a little bit of a two-pronged question here.
Yeah.
You know, considering everything as a whole with this NBA offseason, not just these 3 moves, but just in general, everything we've seen. You know, there's one that I guess seems to be the obvious answer, and that is which NBA team has had the best offseason. But then to counter that, what team do you think is going to be regretting the offseason that either had in this offseason or that stayed quiet in, like didn't do anything in this offseason?
I go down the list as I was thinking some stuff. I think Detroit Pistons took a step back. They didn't get another scorer to help out Cade Cunningham after letting Tobias Harris go. That hurts because he scores about 30 a game. And I think the next one, after Harris was like about 12 a game. So that's one. Boston, I feel like still going to be good. The one that I like is the sleeper team is the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks, I mean, they went out, let me see if I remember correctly. They re-signed C.J. McCollum, who's a good shooter, 15 years in the league. They made that really good trade with Dallas. They gave up they got Nebhard. I mean, they really have a stacked team type of thing. So I'm going there. Orlando, I think, has done nothing. Is going to go back a bit. Charlotte getting rid of both Ball and Bridges. I mean, really, they give him the ball to Con Capel, and here you're now the franchise guy. And then the sneaky team, who was 10th this year or last year, and Miami Heat. You go get Klay Thompson for nothing, and that starting 5 you look at, and they're scoring. They're going to be a team. As I said, some of these teams this year, when Nick was talking about, Cleveland and stuff. Still got to remember, too, Indiana's getting Halliburton back. I mean, the Eastern Conference this year, for most of it, is going to be very interesting. Toronto's still going to be decent, whether they get Leonard or not and the whole thing. But, yeah, there's a lot of good teams. I mean, I'm trying to think in the West if there's anybody. Denver, I don't like. I think they're wasting Jokic. I saw that graphic where they made DeMar DeRozan the big 3, and they put him on there. I don't know if I want him as your big 3 for guys in his mid-30s.
That's not a big 3. I mean, and that phrase is thrown around so loosely now. I mean, big 3s don't win right anymore in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Gordon is more, I think, popular than DeRozan is out in Denver.
You know what wins right now in the NBA?
To be fair, though, Johnny, it feels that way because there's so many teams that are big 3s now that so many of them are losing. So it kind of feels that.
But Nick, my point though is what the Knicks showed you it too. What wins an NBA title is a star player and depth.
Yeah,
I mean, the Knicks were 9-10 players deep in their run this year, and that's why I think I would push back a little bit on the Heat. I don't think the Heat are still. I like the move with getting Klay Thompson, but that's still not a deep roster. That's still not a deep enough roster for me to think that they're going to make a run this year.
Well, yeah, so John, when I talked to Nick Morganson about this, we were talking about Giannis. Their starting 5 is fantastic, to me at least, with Bam and everything else. But when they made that trade for Giannis, they gave up a ton of their bench guys, and that's where they're going to get guys minimum, like a Kevin Love would probably fit their minimum level contract type of thing.
Yeah, Dave, I was watching that stream coming home from work, and I was listening to you guys, and you were spot on about that. I totally agree.
And then just real quick, and I'll end the question that Tom gave me. The Western Conference is going to be horrible this year. Meaning, when the 10th team gets to, say it's Golden State or Portland, they're going to be 8-9 games under 500. That is an awful conference. It's like the American League West in baseball.
I was just about to say.
Wait, Dave. The American League West? You mean the American League?
Oh, American League. Sorry, yeah. It's bad.
Well, the AL East is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I hate it. I hate being in it.
But still, the American League. There's only 5 or so teams that have above 500 record right now.
So.
Well, the West next year will be what the East has been for. It seems like an eternity. The East used to be where if you were under 500, you could have been like the 6th seed, and now it seems like the conferences have flipped.
Well,
right. We got an update. 4 teams in the AL are above 500.
Oh my God!
It's the
Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, White Sox.
Tampa, Chicago, Yankees, Red Sox. Everybody else is under 500. Houston's in first place in the West, and they are under 500.
We can get it. There's a strong possibility we get a White Sox Cubs World Series.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Allow me to
what
play.
they call that.
There's
I don't know
also
what they have
possibility
there.
you can have a Red Sox, White Sox, ALCS.
They don't have like Subway Subway's in Chicago.
No, what is it called?
The L.
The L's.
You know why? Because I've taken it to Wrigley Field.
Well, you've taken a lot of L's.
Man.
Oh man!
Wow, Nick. Wow.
Sorry. Come on, you walked right into that one.
Crosstown Classic. That's what it is. It's
Crosstown Classic.
Crosstown Classic.
Yeah.
Wait, allow me to play y'all the theme song of the American League right now. Get ready to hear that again.
Oh, Tom, it brings back such great memories that you and that, it just goes hand in hand.
Alex Cranium, he played it the other episode he had.
Yeah, he did.
Great.
What am I guess I'm gonna have to do with the Jets and Giants because I can't do it with Broncos country or Russell Wilson country anymore.
Well, I mean, you kind of can because now he's going to lead into all the CBS action every week.
And he got a promotion.
He is the guy that never goes away, no matter what it is.
Nope. I guess, Ben, to wrap things up, with 2 months to go before the start of the regular season, you know, Dave mentioned the Hawks as a sleeper team.
Yep.
Who, in your opinion, you know, we've got plenty of Sixers, Celtics, and Knicks love within this room right now, but who is a sleeper contender that you think that not many people are going to be looking at right now?
I mean, I was going to say Charlotte, but Charlotte obviously lost LaMelo. I thought Charlotte really put a great stride. So for me, I'm going to go with the Toronto Raptors. I really like what they did last year. You know, you still have Barrett, you still have Quickly, you got Scotty Barnes. I mean, that team, I think, can definitely give some teams some problems. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to probably win a couple playoff series, but there's always just kind of that team that's kind of in like the 500, maybe a little bit over, that can just be a complete scrappy type of team. And I could see that being the team. But like, you know, David obviously mentioned Miami. You know, the thing about Giannis is like, he's great, but the spacing I think is going to be disgusting. And that, what I mean by that is that Giannis is going to want the ball primarily at all times. They're a team that's going to want to have the spacing out where Clay's going to be a lot in the corner. You know, Bam and Giannis, I think, will actually be pretty good. I think defensively, offensively. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how they can share the ball because, you know, as they say, there's only one basketball in the hands. So with the Knicks to me obviously are going to be the number one perennial team. Just definitely reminded me after the Celtics in 24. The Celtics, obviously, I think it's going to take a while to gel with obviously the new transition without JB. What is Paul George going to be? I don't know. I'm not expecting a whole lot personally. No offense to Paul George, but I hope I'm wrong. He seems like he's motivated, so I guess that's that. But I still think we'll be top 5. I think Mazzulla is a good enough coach where he could be good enough in the regular season. I think the Pacers. I really think that the Pacers are going to come back and really have a better season this year. Obviously, bring back Halliburton. They're going to be hungry, ready to go. The Pistons just didn't add a lot with Cade. I mean, you know, they had Jalen Duren, but Duren didn't seem like he wanted to stick around. So how motivated is he going to be? So, I mean, if you ask me right now, the top 5 teams right now in the East, I'd probably go number 1. I would probably go with the Knicks. Number 2, I'm probably going to go with Indiana. I really think I'm really highly on them this year. I really do. And then I think the Celtics will be number 3. The Cavs, I think, will be right in the top 5. You know, we talk about comparisons to other pro teams. The Cavs, to me, are like the Atlanta Braves, a team that's just, no matter what type of roster they have, they always just seem like they're going to be steadily competitive. James Harden obviously got that extension, not surprising. But look, I mean, what happened against Nick and Johnny's Knicks? James Harden, 1, could not play defense, and 2, that Cavs team, you saw how many times the Knicks got in transition, the Cavs never got back. They're terrible in pace. So, like, the Cavs are going to be – I think the Cavs are going to be good against the majority of these teams, but against the higher echelon teams, they will struggle because of their pace. I still think they're too ISO-friendly, and their pace is brutal. And their coach is the Justin Herbert of NBA.
Wow. Let me just close out with one thing. The one thing that the Knicks showed also last year was they were for the most part a very healthy team last year.
Yes.
I mean, and in the playoffs, I mean, I know Mitch Robinson had that little hand injury, and OG missed a game or two with the hamstring. But that Knicks team, I mean, if they stay healthy the whole year, I mean, that's why I think they have a chance. If you look at the Heat, Giannis has been banged up a lot the last couple of years.
Right.
And you look at the Sixers, and I think the Sixers are actually a very deep team, but I wonder how that chemistry is going to work when you have Embiid, who misses a lot of games. LeBron is another year older. I just don't know if that supposedly big three of Brown, LeBron, and Embiid are going to work, because I don't know how many games those three are going to play together next year.
So another thing too that you mentioned, Johnny, about the Sixers is they have a ton of guys they're going to want to have. And, VJ, a guy that was really highly looked at as a rising type of player for them. You bring in Jaylen Brown. What does Jaylen Brown, of course, want to have? The ball, after what he had from last year. So it seems like their team is deep, but I think that the chemistry is going to struggle. I really do, at least early on. It's going to take them a while. And you have the so-called LeBron there. So,
and there's a ton of pressure on Nick Nurse there, on the coach there this year.
Yes,
a ton of pressure
time.
on him.
I actually have a question for Johnny, Nick, and I don't know if Tom's a Knicks fan, but I think you are.
Yes.
Are you? Okay. So you guys are all Knicks fans. Here's the question I have for you. Are you surprised how quiet the Knicks were this summer? They lost Mitchell, but they didn't hey, we're going to add to it. It seemed like they
got Andre
re-signed
Drummond.
guys.
I was gonna say they had Drummond. They had
Drummond, right? That I like that. But they did, and they re-upped those guys, but they didn't go out and get another piece. I guess I was thinking they did to add what they have. Were you surprised?
So David,
I don't think it was necessarily a need to do much.
You know I'm going to answer this, David, because I can counterpoint out the Celtics won the 24 championship. I remember after that year, I remember to myself, they really didn't have to bring a lot of guys back. You still a Holiday, obviously under contract. You had Derek White, you had Tatum and Brown, everybody like that. The Knicks are very similar, and the fact is, they had obviously brought back Alvarado, a good piece, obviously, off the bench. You bring back a guy like Andre Drummond, a guy that literally could just rebound. That's really all that they need off the bench. And, of course, you have, of course, the guys there in your starting five that's going to be good enough as anybody in the East. So I think that they really didn't have to do a whole lot, especially with what they're going through right now. So, I mean, maybe you could have gone like a Norman Powell-esque, maybe, but they'll be fine.
Well, so my answer is no. I'm not surprised, because they just won the championship.
Right.
So with the current roster, you're capable of winning. That doesn't mean it was necessarily the right move. Maybe it was a bit of a championship hangover. It's not exactly easy to win with the same exact roster 2 years in a row. That doesn't happen.
Well, I'm actually going to answer with something else. There were all these reports about LeBron James that if the Knicks did not win the championship, LeBron was going to join the team.
Right.
I actually think them winning the championship and not getting LeBron, I mean, it sounds stupid to say because obviously they won the championship, but I'm saying even for immediate future, I think them winning the championship and not getting LeBron and missing out on LeBron was a much better thing to happen, not just because they actually won a title, but because I don't know where LeBron fits into the Knicks' immediate picture. He obviously won't fit into the long-term future, but
I don't know. Is it such a given to you that he would have gone to the Knicks? He could have gone to the Knicks many times in the past, but he never did.
No, I'm not saying that, Nick. But I'm saying I feel like we're saying with the given core, the way that the team was all last postseason and just regular season, actually the last two, I don't feel like LeBron would have fit anywhere within the picture.
Well, if you did
win the championship,
but if you think that's true, though, don't you think it's possible LeBron would have seen that too and not wanted to go to the Knicks? And I'm also not even really sure. I don't know if LeBron wanted to play for the Knicks. He never.
I don't know either. Right.
So I'm not convinced of that at all. That he would have. I'm not convinced he would have gone to the Knicks, even if the Knicks didn't win a title.
I mean, the thing is, we're talking. He's had the accusations of ring chasing back with Miami, and now again here in Philadelphia. The thing is, he's got an opt out after this 1 year in Philadelphia. So who knows? Who knows what his prerogative is going to be?
I thought it was at the 2. Oh, no, he's got an option. He's got an option
after 1.
He's got an opt out after 1. Well, the thing though with the Knicks though is one of the reasons why we don't see teams repeat in a lot of the sports, besides it being obviously very difficult, is we don't see the team that championship team keep almost all of its players. And for the most part, the Knicks kept pretty much everybody. I mean, the only guys they lost really were Robinson and the other center who went to, I think it was Not the guy I can't even pronounce. I think he went to your Sixers, Dave.
Oh, I know you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean,
He hardly played.
What's that?
He hardly played.
He played a few minutes. I mean, when they were up by like 50 against the Hawks in the clinching game, yes, we saw him for a little bit. But I mean, to bring in an Andre Drummond who could almost play to the similar role that Robinson played, and at a much cheaper option, I mean, I thought was actually very, very smart. Look, I love Mitch Robinson. He was the longest tenured Knick on the roster when they won the championship. But I mean, he already got a huge contract from the Knicks once before. And to get that kind of money again, I think would have not been a great business decision. So you bring in an Andre Drummond on like a vet's minimum almost on a very small contract. I think, what was it, like $3.9 million for 1 year? He can play the role of what Robinson was like. So that's why, I mean, ultimately also it comes down to the fact that the Knicks can stay healthy. Because like I said, they were, for the most part, a very healthy team last season. That's going to be hard to duplicate. I mean, let's say Jalen Brunson goes down for any length of time. It's going to be a much tougher task for them to repeat.
Right. Okay.
But at the same time, you know what? Look, we got our championship. There's no pressure to repeat. I mean, it would be awesome to get back to the playoffs again. That would be a nice stepping point. But I mean, we got our championship, so,
yes.
So it's all
exactly, and that's what I'm going to be happy with.
Yeah.
We have a minor trade that has happened in the world of the National Football League. The Saints are sending veteran linebacker Deion Jones to San Francisco in exchange for running back Zamir White.
Okay. Well, the Niners have been very banged up in the offseason.
Yeah.
So I can see why they want to go for some decent defensive help. That would make sense. Although we did hear today that Kittle got activated off the PUP list, so it looks like he's trending towards playing that Week 1 game in Melbourne against the Rams.
Just keep Deion away from the substations.
Oh.
All right. Moving on now, we're going to go to a bit of a sports media route. And it kind of has two different branches here. On one hand, because they both involve ESPN. And on one front, sadly, ESPN is mourning the loss of its founder, Bill Rasmussen, who passed away at the age of 93. His creation fundamentally changed the way sports are consumed. A 24-hour sports network was once considered an absolutely absurd idea, even in a world of expanding cable television. But ESPN eventually, to this day, is one of the most influential media companies in sports, if not the world. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative talk around ESPN at this point. And one of the big questions that has been brought up, and it was also brought up very recently on Press Row with Nick Morgeson and Callan McClurg, is the idea if ESPN has become too heavy, not just on influencers or specific personalities, but focusing on one specific personality at hand in Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is becoming an increasingly prominent figure within ESPN's, I wouldn't even say football ecosystem, just ecosystem, period. He's got his own show. He's not going to be part of College Game Day and other ESPN programming, increasingly revolving around his personality. And critics are beginning to question whether ESPN is leaning on him too heavily. Can one personality become too important to a network as large as ESPN? So I guess I'll start with Nick. Does ESPN need personalities like McAfee to compete in today's sports media environment?
Yeah, they do. I mean, they don't necessarily need Pat McAfee in particular, but yeah, they absolutely do. Because look, big personalities is how all of these sports media companies compete. There's a reason that Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith are all over ESPN's airwaves. It's not because ESPN likes them individually. It's because they're money generators. That's who people want to see. The consumers drive the market, not the other way around. It's the same reason they talk about the Lakers and the Cowboys on First Take all the time. It's because people care about it, not because the producers of First Take care about those teams. People want to deny it, but it's just obviously true that McAfee is all over. ESPN's putting McAfee everywhere because at least in their estimation, is the smart business decision. That's really all it is.
I guess my question, though, is there a point where it becomes too much?
Yes.
And, I mean, I guess there's a point where it's too much, but I mean, there can be a point where it's too much, but when it gets to that point, ESPN's going to find out about it because consumers aren't going to like it. If consumers continue to eat it up, if viewers eat it up and it works for ESPN, then it's not too much. That's simply all it is.
Ben, is ESPN building any sort of next generation or stars, or is this just a case of they're putting so many eggs in? It's like, I know the joke is always about Stephen A. Smith. When you consider Pat McAfee, you consider some of the things about, the amount of money that he and his company are getting from ESPN, or the fact, the Rasmussen tribute cut off and that whole blow up that happened on social media. And McAfee now joining all the pregame show stuff for football and ESPN. Like, I can't even joke of an personality basket. Are they putting too many eggs in the Pat McAfee basket?
I mean, I do think I'm a big believer in terms of big time performance, and I feel like I know he obviously gets a good rap and bad rap from a lot of people, but he obviously is out there. He does a lot. I mean, obviously he has his own show. He's doing stuff for College Game Day. He does stuff now with the NFL. Obviously for him, I mean, it's a lot, and I think ESPN obviously had a ton of cuts, of course, that have happened the last couple of months, and it happened with a bunch of different sports, mainly with football. Tom Pelissero, obviously, to me, it still doesn't make any sense of why he got moved on, but a guy like his overall caliber, right? So, I mean, I think this kind of just says like nobody's safe, and I think, I don't think that they're picking favorites either. I mean, of course, I could be wrong, but I think his performance obviously is where it's at. I mean, we'll have to see in terms of if he's overworking and doing different jobs or anything like that. But if he's comfortable with it and he likes doing what he wants to do, I think just for the overall business side of things, I think he's going to do the best he can because he obviously doesn't want to lose on this big opportunity that he continues to grow with.
Johnny, as a big sports media guy and a big football guy, does Pat McAfee make ESPN's football coverage better, for one? And two, what is your take on the expanded role of Pat McAfee at ESPN?
Well, number one, I don't think it hurt. Let's put it this way. I don't think it hurts ESPN to put him in because I think he's actually great at it. Him joining College Game Day, I thought was a very smart decision, business decision by ESPN because he's great at it. Number one. And what was your other question? I'm sorry, Tom.
What do you make of ESPN's, expanded investment in McAfee?
Well, I think it shows that he's going to have a huge role in their Super Bowl coverage this year, and that's the thing. You have to look at some of this too. ESPN has the Super Bowl for the first time ever, so it looked like. I think the shocking thing was when Ryan Clark got fired. All of the speculation was that he was going to be a big part of it, and now it seems like it's going to be McAfee. But I think that's what we're looking at with this decision. Is that McAfee is going to have a huge role in their Super Bowl 61 coverage. But, I mean, it's not like, he's not good at what he does. I mean, this is a very, very smart decision from him because he knows what he's doing. I mean, his show is top-notch. It's, look, I mean, ESPN, it's unprecedented what they did putting that show on the airwaves, simulcasting it. But they're doing this like Nick D said because it's a consumer business, and this is something that not only ESPN does, but this is something that you've seen trickle down even to like local sports radio, where they'll put on these figures. I mean, perfect example from a WFAN perspective in New York is somebody like Craig Carton.
Who just got a deal with Outkick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like these kind of personalities, whether they're good or not, I mean, it seems like everybody's trying to get like their own face of the network or station or whatnot. But this is a guy that knows what he's talking about when it comes to football, both college and pro. And you have to factor in the fact that ESPN does have the Super Bowl in February. So he's going to be a big part of that. And They seem to, and I think also when you have these cuts that ESPN had, you're going to start seeing like a lot of these guys get a bigger role. Like we've seen, like how many, like what I noticed lately, that usually you wouldn't see college football and NFL mixed with the same people, but we've seen that over the last couple of years that some people that are doing college football stuff are also doing NFL stuff on ESPN. That's usually something we had not seen up until the last couple of years. So I think it's just
Herb Street is a really good example.
Herb Street's one. Laura Rutledge is another one. She took on a huge role with the NFL, and now she's going to be solely NFL, although she's going to still do some college stuff for the huge games. But you see like a lot of these, and I think even also you'll see when ESPN's got the second Monday night, like the second the second NFL game. You got guys like Dave Pasch coming over to the NFL side. Bob Wischusen does college and pro on ESPN. So it's a little bit of a mixture, and that's just what ESPN is doing now. It's times have changed. This is not the ESPN that we grew up watching. It's a 24/7. It's like in the news. It's a 24/7 news and sports cycle. That's the times that we're living in right now.
Yep.
I guess on that note, by the way, just to go through some comments, I apologize. Was trying to move the show along a little bit quicker. We were spending a lot of time with the NBA. Big threes don't work because of the salary cap rules and the apron rules.
That is largely true.
Yeah.
I don't think Miami has enough to make it past the first round of the playoffs.
I don't think that's true. The East is not good. I mean,
crapshoot. Yeah,
there's a really good. I don't think they have enough to win the finals, but I think they can easily make it past the first round. I think Miami will probably avoid a play-in game.
I think it ultimately comes down to the health of
Giannis.
Yeah, because like I actually saw a question you and I have talked about a little while ago, Nick D. Because they have Giannis, but I don't think they have the depth. So if he gets hurt, that's going to hurt big time.
Yes, I think it's a combination: the lack of depth and the fact that Giannis is injured all the time.
I'm not a big believer in the Heat, but I can't agree with that. I think that Giannis is good enough where he's shown it before that if he's healthy, he could definitely take a team at least through one round. Beyond that, I'm not sure. But
let's see. Christy says, I think the Knicks might repeat this year. And as far as LeBron goes, says LeBron's ego is too big for a team like the Knicks, which Nick's fun follow. He was never going to the Knicks. It was a BS tactic for leverage.
Well,
I think that's very possible.
All right. As far as the comments right now about the current segment, looks like McAfee isn't coming back. To WWE. Yeah, no.
No.
Not unless you want.
Yeah, because that first comment said, "Looks like Pat McAfee isn't coming back to me." I was like, "Whoa!"
I didn't see that too. By the way, just real quick on McAfee, the rumor I heard was here, or reporters now, supposedly they're going to do an alt cast of Monday Night Football where it'll be a separate channel.
The weeks that there's not Manning cast would be a McAfee cast.
McAfee cast. It's got a good ring to it.
It does. That's a really good ring to it.
And I think it actually would do really well.
It could be better than honestly the main one at times, maybe.
Well, hey, you know what? Then you know what? Comes Super Bowl, you have an all cast that's McAfee and the Manning brothers.
Well, they might do like what you see on college football in the big college football playoff games, in that you could have 5 or 6 different casts on all these different channels.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I do think they're going to run him into the ground. I mean, they're paying him $60 million a year with like all these shows and Monday Night Football and stuff. I think they're going to run him into the ground.
You have to understand, McAfee represents how sports media is changing and how people are consuming it differently. That ESPN is just adjusting. That's all they're doing.
I guess more likely it's going to be the ratings part.
Yeah, exactly, and that's all that matters. All that matters is ratings. Right. And here's the thing. Like, I personally prefer the old school broadcast. If I'm watching a game, I prefer that over the Manning cast. But not everybody's like that, especially in the younger generation. A lot of people prefer the Manning cast style, so they have to adjust to that.
Yeah. I will tell you though that I will say though that ESPN went all in when they got Buck and Aikman, and that paid dividends for them. That worked out wonders. So I think this McAfee thing is also going to work out phenomenal for them, especially if it gives them other avenues to cover the Super Bowl, which is, I think, the big reason behind all this is Super Bowl 61.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I'll say real quick, Buck and Aikman are the people who like the traditional stuff in terms of like broadcasting. But if you want the frat bro stuff, you got McAfee.
Yeah. Although the truth is, people talk about McAfee in a derogatory way as like frat bro stuff. But you know what? Pat McAfee is a former player, and he is very knowledgeable. So, I wouldn't describe him so much as frat bro stuff. He's more personable and has more of a sense of humor than typical analysts do. But he's very much knowledgeable.
And in multiple sports, not just football. I mean, he's very good at hockey and stuff. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, like Stephen A., there are times you put Stephen A. on talking about other sports outside of basketball and football. He has no idea what he's talking about. I mean, I've seen him sometimes call baseball. He's called baseball runs points. I mean, come on. You cannot call a baseball run a point. That's like, you don't call him that.
I think it's.
I mean, if you're watching Banana Ball, it's a different story.
In fairness, he was probably misspeaking, which broadcasters do a lot. I remember one time Colin Cowherd referred to Paul Perkins as Paul Pierce.
Well, the lesson also behind all this, too, is if there was any debate about who the face of the network is, it's not Stephen A. anymore. It is McAfee.
No.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think McAfee is taking that over.
Maybe that's because Stephen A. might still be exploring that run in a few years. We'll see.
Right.
I guess on that note, Dave, if Bill Rasmussen were looking at ESPN today, one, would he recognize the network he created? Two, would he be supportive of the network, of what the network is, the network that he's created has now become? And number three, I guess just your thoughts on what the sports media landscape looks like today, and if it's for the better or worse.
Well, I mean, it's so socially media driven compared to like when he started it. I mean, I don't know how he would adapt it to it. I mean, like I said, when I remember it was Berman, Tom Mees, Bob Lee. They were the big three there. Now it's and I don't know how he would react to all this stuff and whatever else. But it's changed so much because ESPN at one point was fantastic, and then things have changed. Technology, this thing, that thing, and personalities, whatever else, and they probably had some. Like they always have some good, I could say, stuff there. I'm just trying to think of exact, but I don't know how you would have been like how you would like handled it from when it started in the '80s to what it is now. I mean, ESPN is so different.
Vastly. Sports media landscape is vastly different as well. And Dave, I kind of feel in the same boat. Like, I get it from the standpoint that Nick, Johnny, Ben have talked about with like that it's focused on the consumer. McAfee is still knowledgeable, and I have nothing against McAfee.
Right.
However, I can also say simultaneously that I do think ESPN has taken some major steps back from what it once was. And maybe that's just because of who I am. So maybe ESPN is not the outlet for me. Maybe there is another outlet out there for me. And I guess that's the good thing about the sports social media based landscape is that there are a lot of options out there.
Well, I mean, or I have to bet you think of Fox Sports with they have Barstool, they have Cowherd. I don't know who they had in the afternoon because they also whacked a bunch of people a year or two ago as well. They got rid of Keyshawn. They got rid of this. I don't even know who they actually have over at Fox Sports the afternoon.
I mean, Keyshawn Johnson kind of sucked. I mean, he was good as an NFL analyst.
Well, I just used him. They had him. I think, did they get rid of Sean McCoy? They got rid of
a bunch I think they did.
Yep. They got rid of the lady over there at one point. Yeah, they got rid of a bunch of people. So
I think Keyshawn Johnson was great when he was on Monday Night Countdown, when he was on ESPN.
Okay.
But at Fox Sports, when he was doing that talk show, I thought he sucked.
Okay. Like Paul Pierce was on it too.
Yeah, he wasn't good either.
No. Paul, like he was drinking during the show. He just looked like, I know he was, but I'm saying he looked like he was just like he just rolled out of bed and it's like, okay, ready to do a show. So
I think he had to do a show with Joy Taylor like the day after that story came out.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah. So
see, Nick says ESPN has turned the gas back central. SAS and McAfee scream, yell, and say dumb things to ESPN, can quote it on all their social media platforms. How about doing reporting that is authentic?
Well,
ESPN is obsessive over the Lakers and Cowboys because of the social media reaction and rage tweets people do when they like the hate engagement. Well, again,
they like engagement, whether it's hate or not hate engagement, because that's what helps ESPN. It's the same thing with personalities. I mean, that's always been the case. And it's not even just sports media. All over media, personalities is really what moves the needle. That's always the case. It's not like Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee are not reporters. They're not reporters, so it really just doesn't matter that they're gas bag central. Like, everybody's gas bag central now. Like, I don't know.
Well, let's say I think Stephen A has a personal message for Nick Morganson
because he's a raw pain in the ass.
Look, Stephen A. Smith is great at what he does. It's just objectively true, and like that's why he gets paid as much money. That's why he gets paid more than most professional athletes, because he's great at it. It's that simple. I like meritocracies, and he's in the sports opinion business. He's great at it. That's why he gets paid a lot of money. It's the same thing with Pat McAfee. Tell everybody else to be better at what they do. Like, I don't know.
And then you can tell everybody else to
stay off the weed. Who was on crack?
Well, there is. The social media thing. That's just the whole tweet baiting thing. But you know what, though? Everybody's. Look again. Local sports radio is guilty of tweet baiting too. If you want.
Yeah. Again, that's part of. That's one of the toxicity parts of.
Well, actually, I think TikTok is becoming the biggest. Like those short 30-second clips on TikTok that go viral.
Well,
that's a really big one too, because that's what they have to do. Right. They can't look at social media and say, I don't want to adapt to the social media environment. You're going to be out of a job if you do that. If you're an executive, you can't do that.
Nick's point.
Everything's on video now too. You can't not utilize video on radio shows. You can't not utilize it.
Yeah,
it's just a reality.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Stephen A. Smith has a.
Is he referring to the beef between Stephen A. and Wilbon recently?
I don't know. I wasn't following.
I don't know that one. I'll say Stephen A. was. He did 20 plus years doing basketball journalism, Philadelphia Inquirer, so he is a journalist in that part. But the TV thing, it's just
no. His role on First Take is not as a journalist. He just has a background in journalism.
Right.
I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
But his role on First Take is not to be a journalist.
All right, let's do a very quick hit piece. LIV Golf. It's canceled the remainder of its planned 2026 schedule. This has been a bit of a change after they said everything was, looking good to go. And now it's turned around. Indianapolis is now the effective conclusion of the season, and the league is trying to find a sustainable model after the changes involving the Saudi Arabia Public Interest Fund. Can LIV survive long-term without the financial backing originally that made the entire concept possible? Johnny, I'll start with you. Yes or no?
No.
Think it's done in the water. Done.
Yeah. It is done. The problem they've got is that without there's many problems, but one of the problems that Liv had if there was a problem at the very beginning was that they were not able to get a broadcast partner right away. Fox eventually did jump aboard with it, but you need a true broadcast partner to get that kind of money, and they really didn't have that until recently. But no, they are hanging on by a thread. They're trying to tell you that everything's all right. And they're trying to tell you, that we can keep it going for a little bit longer. But, how long is that going to last? It's not. This operation's done. Especially when you had some golfers that are trying to go back into PGA. That should have been the first warning sign there when you had some guys trying to go over there. Even if they had to fork over $5 million to like a charity or something like that, or do some sort of service or something. That should have told you right then and there also that this operation is done.
Ben, agree that it's done?
Yeah, definitely. Like Johnny mentioned, the revenue for LIV at this point in time is it's not worth it anymore for people to go see this. Because it's legitimately a secondary to what the PGA is. The PGA essentially is the head of the head. You obviously, there's a lot of guys now at this point in time too that want to just go back to playing on PGA because they know that it's the king of golf. So. I think, I wonder in terms of what happens for LIV down the road, it's probably not going to go great. If I got to ask right now, but PGA I think is going to be fine. They're obviously in a good spot situationally right now. So, I think LIV is definitely not in the best of spots. And I don't think it's going to be in a good spot for a while because of just the competition with PGA.
David, LIV, failed experiment, a disruption, something still too early to judge. What is the future of golf going to look like with, LIV in such the troubling position that it's in?
Well, I think what they wanted more than anything, their goal was to be at the table with the PGA people, meaning the Saudis, and PGA people were like, no, we got these young guys. We're good luck with that. It's an absolute failure. In terms of the future, it's going to be PGA. I mean, they can go over. Some guys can go to the European Tour. That's great, but the PGA is just going to run it. They've changed some things, made it better. I'll be curious to see if any of them the LIV guys try to get back into the PGA Tour. That's going to be the curious thing. And who?
Are they going to allow them to come back? That's
the question.
I think they will, but they're going to pay one hell of a punishment.
I know for some guys they had to pay a huge price to come back, and that's what it should be. But I think some of them will and others won't.
What Kep get paid or what his punishment was, I think what his was, they'll double it to the next one.
Fair.
I really do. So like the Dustin Johnsons and whoever else. DeChambeau will never go back. He'll do YouTube, maybe a couple majors, and that'll be his career.
Nick, your thoughts, especially now given the angle that we're talking about of, potentially guys who left for LIV now coming back to PGA.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question because I don't really know that much about either of them, about like Live Golf or the PGA. So I guess maybe the PGA would be potentially spiteful to them and it would make it more difficult. I don't know. It's tough though. Have we ever seen this situation before in golf?
Not that I can think of.
No.
Well, because they really didn't have this league going on for a while until now. So.
But do you think that if the PGA doesn't let them back, they're like cutting off their nose to spite their face? In a sense?
I don't know because I think
they're just gonna keep going. I mean, there's
right because I think LIV has proven itself to be a massive failure, and the PGA is still doing fine. It's still around.
No, but they're better off with players that went to Live, that left the PGA to do Live. Aren't they better off letting them back?
Okay, more on their decision.
That would be the only reason why you bring them back is because they're some of them are known like
right. That's what I'm saying.
Dustin Johnson and stuff.
Right. So basically case by case basis.
But you can't do it. I don't know if that's really fair either, because then you're giving unfavorable treatment. So I don't know. I don't follow golf very much. I haven't followed Live. I just know there was a whole lot of controversy because it's run by the Saudis.
I think that conversation will come up once it officially is announced that Live is gonna go away. I mean, I think we're definitely I would say probably we're about 90% of the way there. But I think Live is gonna squeeze every last dollar, every last minute out to try and stay alive. Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. All right. Football. It's here. Week 0 college.
Yeah.
We're in the last week of the NFL preseason. The NFL season. We're going to start with the NFL. The season's almost upon us. Final preseason week is going to be coming up. Teams are making their last decisions on the 53-man rosters. Got fringe players who have one last opportunity to make an impression. Veterans getting ready for week 1. Injuries, quarterback competitions, including a certain one in Cleveland. All these roster battles that are becoming increasingly important. Johnny, my question to you, what is the biggest preseason overreaction that you've heard so far? Because there's going to be plenty of overreaction in the preseason.
Boy, I think there's some that are legitimate. There are others that I think are not. Boy, the biggest one. It's tough because I mean, I don't know. Like from a local side, I don't know if there really is an overreaction, but oh man, I'll tell you what. I'm going to defer that to another person while I think of.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll come back to you with another one. Any of you three want to answer? What do you think is the biggest overreaction so far to this preseason?
They're just good backup quarterbacks. Look at Justin Fields. Look at Andy Dalton this week.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, Justin Fields is bad.
The problem with the preseason is it's not a lot of the stars that get a ton of action. So, I mean, Jaden Daniels played yesterday. But,
So Deshaun Watson.
oh yes, you know what?
That's
Overreaction was to the Deshaun Watson boos. Maybe that was it.
fair enough.
Well, we're gonna find out tomorrow.
The thing is,
Go ahead, man.
go ahead.
I was going to say we'll find out tomorrow who the Week 1 starter for the Browns is going to be, according to Todd Monken. So stay tuned on that. Nick D, 1:10 p.m. by the way is when Todd Monken.
Yeah, 1:10 as soon as we finish the show. Luckily, it's the Browns, so it's not that relevant of a topic.
Well, the comments that Deshaun Watson made after the game were, let's be honest, idiotic.
Yeah.
For a guy who's played 19 games in the last 6 years.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he has no self-awareness.
I got one. Odell
Okay.
Beckham Jr. is gonna make this team.
It's like very mixed. If he makes the team, he's not going to be an impact player. He's just wide receiver depth. That's all. He's there.
Yeah, I agree.
But he's
Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
he's there, because this team has a chance that it's not going to be healthy between Cam, between Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors just coming back from the ACL injury last year. They need pieces for Dart to throw to.
Hey, they're very deep at wide receiver, though. I mean,
yes.
So I mean, it's actually going to be a very interesting thing to see a cut down day what they're going to do, because they're going to have a decision to make at wide receiver. I mean, Malachi Fields has looked phenomenal so far in the preseason. I mean, he could almost play. I don't know if you want to say this is an overreaction, but he could almost play in the wide receiver 2 for the Giants right now, the way he's been looking. But I mean,
yeah, I agree.
What's that, Ben?
No, I was going to say something regarding Odell after.
Okay, so I mean, that actually will be one of the big things to watch here when it comes to cut down day, to see if Odell does make the roster. Now, Harbaugh's coached him before, so it's certainly possible based on that he could make it out of the preseason, but we'll see.
If Odell gets moved, the team I'm looking at is San Francisco, because they're very depleted at receiver.
Yeah, and they're in big trouble in my opinion right now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not an overreaction.
That's going to be a big conversation for next week when we're doing all the previews, I think, San Fran. Nick, what do you think is the most intriguing storyline, whichever team you want to go to, heading into the start of the regular season?
In the NFL?
Any NFL team.
Oh, see, I can answer that if he wants to pass.
What were you going to say?
Okay, so the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation, the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons quarterback situations.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Falcons probably the most interesting because that division is so up in the air.
Yeah, and
I was also going to say the Bills have got to be up there too. They have a chance to win the division. They didn't win the division last year, and they weren't able to go to the Super Bowl last year, and they're one of the favorites to make it back to the Super Bowl. I think that's got to be another one.
Okay, fair enough. I think that is interesting. You have a couple of quarterback situations. Minnesota, Minnesota, they're going to go with Kyler Murray. It's going to be interesting to see what J.J. McCarthy's immediate future is. Anthony Richardson, is he going to be a cut, or are they going to manage to find a trade for him? You mentioned, Cleveland. That's just a ridiculous situation. We'll find out we're going to get some sort of clarity tomorrow in the wake of Deshaun Watson's comments. Can't believe that's happening. Dave, who do you think is the most underrated team at this point that people are counting out that they shouldn't?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a really good question. You know what? From what you hear about the names I keep hearing about is the Dallas Cowboys, because everybody talks about they got a really good defense this year. So that's one, I guess, that you see in the NFC. AFC?
I can't believe I'm going to do this.
How about them Cowboys?
I mean, are in the Ace? Are we looking at the Bengals?
Oh, absolutely.
Because they got
Don't let Nick
Lawrence.
Morganson hear that.
No,
They got Dexter Lawrence in the off season. That was a good trade. I don't know how that division is going to be because Cleveland's ass, Pittsburgh, for 43-year-old quarterback Rodgers. You don't know how that's going to be, and then Baltimore. I always think Baltimore is just like anime.
I can see. Well, it's going to be a tough division, but I think it'll be a tough division for the Bengals, just because the Steelers, they're not great, but they win a bunch of games in the regular season. They usually fall apart in the postseason, but if it looks like anything like it has in the past 20 years or so, not 20 years, but the past couple of years with Rodgers and Wilson, I mean, that's going to be a tough team to beat. I mean, in the regular season.
And new coach though too. That's
and also the Ravens.
Well, that's the Pittsburgh and Baltimore both have new coaches.
Right.
Browns too.
Here's the thing, though. I don't really think people are necessarily counting out the Bengals as much as maybe they're. I don't know if I think of them so much as a sleeper team.
Well,
so am I bringing this banner back?
And the other thing too is Burrow called out the organization this week.
That
was a call out.
He has every right to, because you know what? He has put together unbelievable years, and that organization has done organizational malpractice by not giving him an offensive line or a defense to work.
Yes.
Right.
But, well, you know what?
Right.
Screw it. I wanted to wait to say this when we were doing the actual football previews, but as we're gathering everything and I'm going to get everybody's preseason picks, one of the categories is most overrated team. And guys, I will tell you what my answer is right here and right now. I'm going to go with the entire AFC North division. The entire AFC North division, I think, is overrated. Cleveland, I mean, hold on, where is it? Because Dave mentioned before.
We keeping a buck right now, we ass.
Cleveland's ass. Cincinnati never gives Joe Burrow any sort of help. The Ravens, I know Lamar is there. I know they have they just gave Zay a bag. I just don't know what they're going to be like under Minter. Like, I have questions about Minter as a coach, especially in a post-Harbaugh era.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pittsburgh, which, look, I know they managed to win games, but the last time we saw McCarthy and Rodgers together, it did not end well.
Right.
So I really – you're saying – Nick, I know you say the AFC North is going to be a competitive division, but I don't think it's going to be a great division.
No, well, I never said it was going to be good. I just said that's pretty much all I said, is that it was going to be competitive for all the teams. That's the point. Like,
I know, but I guess where I'm going with is you are right, but basically my feeling is the AFC North is just competing to see who the top wild card seed is going to trounce in the wild card.
Well, but a lot of it depends on how healthy these teams are going to be, and the AFC North is uniquely bad when it comes to injuries. At least last year it was.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get out of here, I'll give you one team to watch in the NFC that could surprise a lot of people and win the division. How about the New Orleans Saints in the NFC South? You know what? And I say that I know Jordan Tyson's going to be out for 2 months.
I said the same thing about the Falcons. That whole division is so bad. It's
well, you think about what's going on with the Bucs right now. I mean, Baker Mayfield's going to be playing very angry this year, but his number one target for many years is no longer there. They're also dealing with problems. The Panthers are already dealing with a lot of injuries going into the start of the season, and the Falcons, Nick D, I think, are the team that could be a true wild card because, you know, Tua for half the year will be playing indoors, so he won't have to deal with outdoor cold weather. But that's if he gets to be the starting quarterback. I mean, right now, the way all the talk in Falcons camp is that they don't have a starter yet. So we'll see.
Yeah.
You know what? Good.
We got a breaking.
Okay.
We got an Ashton Jeanty update. Hold on one second.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Per Adam Schefter, Ashton Jeanty is believed to have a sprained ankle. The Raiders are unsure how long he'll be out, but it is not believed to be long-term.
Well, that's actually the best news I think you could have gotten after what we heard today. We heard today, that's actually some very fortunate news there.
That's relieved. Yeah.
That is, you believe me, the Raiders and several fantasy owners are signing.
Yeah. You see the thing I put in our group chat?
Yes.
That is why, again, fantasy draft rule of thought: never draft during the preseason if you can. If you don't have to. Of course, there
Tom,
are.
Tom, getting back to your question real quick, the one team's got I don't know if they're going to be good or bad, but they got a lot of question marks going into the season. Philadelphia. Wide receivers, defense is a little bit like, I don't know. And then, like you said, Lane Johnson's getting near the end here. Like, their offensive line's kind of whatever, but they have a lot more questions, especially with wideouts. But we'll see.
Dave, my big question with them is, look, they have the best GM in the sport, but how is Jalen Hurts going to play when he has another new offensive system that he's got to learn?
That's one. But I guess they think Maine is actually going to stay around. But I heard that too about Kellen Moore. He lasted the year, won a bowl, and then he said, "See you later." So who knows? And he's the biggest question this year more than anything on that team is Jalen Hurts' production.
My team to watch, my most underrated team to watch is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that they're going to have a really good season. Liam Cohen, I thought, was very impressive with Trevor Lawrence, who, granted, Trevor Lawrence the year before kind of had a little bit of a meh type of year, but he really played well this past year. And the Jaguars were right there with the Bills this past year in the playoffs. I mean, a couple breaks, you never know. You obviously lost Etienne, but you have, obviously a Travis Hunter, which, granted, I think is going to play one side of the ball, regardless in terms of what it is. You also have Parker Washington, who I think is going to be a blossoming type of receiver as well, too. Is Evan Ingram still there, tight end? They had a tight end really good the last couple of years. I mean, as a team, I think that could obviously be a back-end team right there at the end. And then my NFC team that I'm looking at, I mean, the Saints obviously are a good one. But I really this year, I think the Minnesota Vikings are an underrated team to watch. I think Kyler Murray with Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell does a really good job with like quarterbacks that are just like kind of in the type of range. I mean, Case Keenum, he unlocked Sam Darnold. This is the type of player that I definitely think he can unlock, possibly, granted, in terms of their situation. But
here's a quick question for the group in the room: do the Dolphins win a game this year? I say no.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they beat the Jets.
Dave.
Not even kidding.
Yes, but no more than 3.
I think they split with the Jets.
I think they're going to be the worst team. I honestly don't see it. They are so bad in cap room and everything else. I see them going 0 for this year. I really do.
Malik will get them a couple of wins.
Okay.
It's really.
He can't play every week. He's like Brissett to me. You could get by with him for a week or two, but he can't play him for a full season.
I mean, look, they are playing the Raiders week 1. You never know.
That was the one thing I never got from the Dolphins is they had all that dead cap money they give Tua, and then they go out there and give all that money to Malik Willis.
So the thing, David, too, is as week 1 is the most overreacted. We talk about overreacted week where there's a ton of bad teams that win. I mean, look at Gerard Mayo's Patriots. We won the first game against the Cincinnati Bengals and had one of
those. You brought up the 2024 Patriots.
I'm going off the list of memory of my team.
Bringing up two quarterbacks. Also, I was going to say, I think I brought this up though. Kyler Murray, remember, he's only 29 years old. So if he goes out there and has a balls out this year, some team will give him a massive contract. Baker Mayfield's playing for a massive contract, and CJ Stroud is playing to remain starter there in Houston. I mean, who would have ever thought that the Panthers picked up Bryce Young's 5th-year option before you would think about picking up C.J. Stroud there with the Texans? If you had a conversation 3 years ago, you guys would look at me and have the look of, what the hell are you talking about?
Speaking of Houston, Jaden Higgins' injury, that could be
that hurts. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We are in overtime now. Before we get into anything else with the college season and the MLB, before we move on from that, we've got one of the strangest football stories that I frankly have ever seen. And that is the Cleveland Browns waiving tight end Daquan Wright. And if he clears waivers, he has an agreement in place to play for LSU during the 2026 season, according to his agents Drew Rosenhaus and Kyle Lincoln. He was with the Browns, undrafted free agent, was playing at Virginia Tech and Ole Miss. He would be returning to college. He would be the first player who could play for an NFL team and then return to college football. The situation stems from ongoing legal battles over the NCAA eligibility rules and the possibility of an additional season for certain players. If you remember the whole COVID situation that happened. Wright previously played for current LSU coach Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, which is where the LSU connection comes in. Now, the caveat, Wright still has to clear waivers, which means if another NFL team wants him, he ain't going back to college. He's going to get picked up by that pro team. Johnny, is this just a bizarre one-off created by the current eligibility situation, or are we looking at a new pathway between college and pro football?
Well, we're seeing a lot of this craziness when it comes to players that are, fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th years of eligibility, and now this whole situation. I mean, how many appeals have we heard regarding Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss? I mean, this one though, I think takes the cake. I mean, I know we've seen stories of like players that get drafted like in baseball. I know, totally different sport, but the only closest thing to this is when you get drafted by a team in baseball and you can go back to school. You can go undrafted and go back to school. But this one just is because you're in the NFL already, and then you have the option of going back to school. It's like, well, wait, makes no sense. But the NCAA seems like they just are putting themselves in these situations with this whole eligibility stuff. So this one though really takes the cake though. If this really is the case, this ends up happening.
I mean, this is just disgraceful.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is disgraceful. Allowing players that are professionals to go back and play in college, like college football is a minor league for the NFL. It defeats the purpose. It is not like, would he even be a student at LSU? No, you either stay in college or you go pro. None of this bullshit of I go pro and if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go back to college. That's some bullshit.
Well, I guess, Nick, then perfect transition over to your question. I mean, if you're an NFL team, what do you make of this? And is this going to be, has a precedent been set now if this is what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it affects. I don't know if it would necessarily mean that an NFL team wouldn't want him. I just think the whole process of it is a joke. Like, you're either a professional player or you're in college. College football is not college football and basketball or any sport for that matter is not for professionals. It's for college players. Like, it's literally called college football. Like, now, in terms of an NFL team not wanting him, I don't know if that'll affect that very much. I have no idea. But it does show that he probably doesn't seem all that confident that a team will pick him up. Because he's like, yeah, can I maybe go back to college if this doesn't work out? If he was confident, right, like.
I guess, Ben, then what is this? What is happening now to the traditional player development pipeline if this is what's happening here? And Nick, I know you're saying there's not you, Nick Morgan. I know you're saying this is an NIL deal, but the situation is you literally have someone going through the process of declaring to go pro and entering the draft and all of that, and the no takes and backsies that we've had for years, and now he's in training camp. And
the NIL side of it is sort of irrelevant in the sense. I mean, yes, that's the reason he wants to go back, but like the NIL in and of itself is not really the issue. It's the eligibility requirements.
Well, yeah, and also if he's getting paid more by the NIL contract than he would.
It's not. This is not about NIL in and of itself. This is about eligibility.
No, not you, Nick. Again, where you're going with Nick D.
Like it's not about NIL in and of itself. It's about eligibility. Like that's the issue. It has nothing to do with NIL.
Right. Like it's about there should be a rule. Once you say pro, no, like it's been no takey backsies.
Right. Like that really is not about the NIL.
Yeah, unfortunately, not in this NCAA though.
And I get I guess the thing is like I understand the frustration in that the NCAA players during the COVID year did not get the extra year of eligibility like you saw.
That's totally fair. That's 1 year.
What'd you say, Nick?
I think that's totally fair, but it's also one extra year.
Correct. And I guess going to that, David, you talk about all this stuff in, that college college football being the only minor league football. Like you have the CFL and you have spring football, but not in the traditional sense of a baseball or of a G League. But at what point, we talk about, that the student athlete, that it's college and that academics should be part of it. But you seeing everything happen with NILs and how much athletes go through at college, which has been a debate about for years. At what point do we stop pretending the old separation exists between college and pro, especially in this case where you have a player who can go from an NFL roster, an NFL training camp, back to an SEC program?
I guess it's just baffling to me. The whole thing. They need Roy to start over, like just kind of like everything. Bring in like people who are knowledgeable of college football and sports and just get it right. Like Nick Saban to me would be the perfect person in this whole thing. Just kind of like it should just be 4 years. You get a fifth if you redshirted or was a medical thing type of thing. That's how I saw it. By the way, there's another scenario we haven't talked about too. Is imagine you're the number 1 tight end at LSU. You're ready for the season. Hey, you're ready to go, and then this happens, and you get demoted. Like it could.
Yeah, you laugh, but it's true.
Yeah, like he could be.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was saying he could be, first team, second team, all SEC. Maybe he's a senior. Could get drafted. It's like no, we're getting this guy back from the Cleveland Browns because he didn't play and he sucked there, so he's going to come back and make Lane happy.
Yeah, also, and by the way, Daquan Wright, who is the guy who could go back. I mean, how would he have felt when he was at Ole Miss if when he was a freshman or a sophomore, he had his spot taken by a guy who was in the NFL and then decided to just come back because it didn't work out?
Yeah.
Fair. All right, going over quickly now to college. We got week 0 coming up. You've got North Carolina, TCU, NC State, Virginia, San Jose State, USC, Hawaii, Stanford, New Mexico State, Florida State, and Memphis, UNLV. Nick, I think you answered this before, but are you interested in any of these games?
I'm interested in North Carolina, TCU.
Yep.
That's what I'm interested in. Other than that, the other games really aren't that interesting unless there's a big upset. Florida State and who was it again? New Mexico?
Florida State and New Mexico State.
New Mexico State. Like, I don't know. I don't find that too intriguing.
Fair.
Like, it's basically a bye week.
The NC State Virginia
NC State Virginia game, that game I'm interested in too. Yeah. But there's not a ton. So one ACC/Big 12, but 2 games involving ACC teams.
Johnny, who's your preseason national championship favorite?
I mean, right now, let's put this. I say Big Ten has got to be up there. I mean, like Ohio State. I know Indiana lost Mendoza, but I mean, you got. I think you have to think Ohio State because if there's a team that loses so many players to the draft and is able to retool their school more than anybody else lately, it's Ohio State. So I'd have to go with them.
That's fair. Ben, this 2026 season and the class of the NFL draft class of 2027, it's another one of these year of the quarterback kind of situations we got going on here. There's a lot of interesting prospects going into the college season right now. Who is the most exciting quarterback to watch in this college season?
I mean, obviously for me, I could kind of go with like the regular, like the ones Dante Moore, Arch Manning, kind of at the start. But I'm really curious about Duke's Daniel Messiah transfer over. He's going to be playing with Miami, and they have a receiver coming back from Miami. Malachi Toley? I'm pretty sure, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a team that I think is going to be a really fun team. Obviously, they were just in the championship this past year. So that's the type of quarterback I'm looking at. And then the quarterback on Oklahoma, McKeter, I'm pretty sure.
It's not Mateer. He's supposed to be healthy this year too.
Yeah, so that's another one I'm looking at besides. And then Marcel Reed from Texas A&M, I think is also a really interesting project also.
It's fair. A lot of interesting names at the quarterback position. A lot of them going to basically be expected to be in that 2027 draft list. So something to watch out for as you watch both the NFL and the college season this year. David, just to wrap things up for the college end, either a preseason sleeper or a school that you're fading, either one.
Fading?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to think who's fading. I have some teams that I feel like are teams to watch it.
You could do teams to watch. I said
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Johnny will be very happy to hear that.
Well, yeah, I mean, talking about it from a betting perspective, right now, CJ Carr, the quarterback, is the favorite to win the Heisman going to start the season. So absolutely.
Yeah. And they also, Notre Dame has one of the top duos in quarterbacks. And that's something that cannot be slept on.
I mean, remember we lost both our running backs and Malachi Fields, the wide receiver, to the draft, but they're still a very, very loaded team. And of course, they're going to be talked about because all these rules now that as long as they end up inside the top 12, that they'll be guaranteed a spot in the CFP playoffs. So they're probably going to be the most hated team because of the rule. Part of the rule. I mean, look, I don't agree with the rule, but that is the rule.
Well, one team that I wouldn't fade, that I would like, not because I think they're not a good team, just because their schedule is so brutal, is USC.
Yeah.
They have to play Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, Washington. Granted, it's a home game. I'm forgetting, I think, one other team that they have to play.
I think that goes to the notion about the Big Ten being a more powerful conference than the SEC.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you look at team schedules, it very much varies because Penn State is avoiding Ohio State and Michigan. They're not really playing anybody outside of USC, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Penn State is playing a very favorable Big Ten schedule. USC is playing as unfavorable as a Big Ten schedule as they can play.
Tom, to answer your question, I'll go with two teams real quick. I think might have trouble this year, and it's Texas, toughest schedule for college football.
Schedule, yeah,
and Michigan.
Yeah.
Also, a team to watch out for, guys, is Indiana. They obviously had Charlie Becker, who's one of the top receivers, kind of coming in, and then they also got the transfer quarterback Hoover from TCU.
And that's something I mentioned with Nick on MTGP. You know, Indiana's an interesting situation. They're ranked 6th despite being the defending champions. But, you know, it's a case of Mendoza's gone, and now we got to see what's going on with him now at the helm.
Yeah, I think they could – I'm not saying the repeat, but I think they can be a very really competitive good team.
That's fair. Just briefly before we go into baseball, the Empty the Bench Network is pleased to announce the network has surpassed 3,000 watch hours on YouTube. We cannot thank you, the viewers, enough for your outstanding support in making this milestone possible. Thanks to viewers like you, in the coming days and next week, we'll be rolling out all the details about our super chats, super stickers, super thanks, channel membership tiers, perks, merch store, and so much more. We thank you again for your support of ETB Network. All right, baseball time. We're in the last month of the season. Very quickly, before we get to the off-the-field stuff, very quick thoughts on on-the-field stuff. Nick, starting with you, best chance of winning the World Series right now. Is it the Dodgers, or is there another team you think is a better odds than them?
Right now, I mean, I haven't looked on DraftKings. I can imagine the.
I don't mean better odds in that regard. I just mean in your gut.
One team I think actually might have a better shot would be. I think Milwaukee could have a better shot than the Dodgers. I was also thinking even the Cubs maybe have a shot, though they haven't been as great lately. But if other than the Dodgers, I was thinking maybe Milwaukee, maybe the Cubs. I was thinking.
I think the only issue that I have with Milwaukee, like they have the best record. They were the first team to reach the 81 wins. They just always seem to struggle in postseason.
You never know when that might change, though.
That's fair. Dave, as somebody who's been part of hitting for the cycle, you know, what team has surprised you the most during this season?
White Sox.
That's fair.
I mean, nobody saw that coming. And
do you think 2 years ago they set the record, the modern record for the worst record in Major League Baseball?
Yeah.
And now here they are leading the Central.
White Sox are one. Tampa Bay has stunned me. I mean, Tampa just finds their way, and they, crappy stadium, low payroll, and they just keep winning. In their first place in the division. That's the positive side. The other side, for me personally, I was surprised the Giants kind of crapped the bed this year a little bit, but they got so many issues with the team and stuff like that. So,
well, speaking of issues, Ben, what contender still has a glaring weakness?
I mean, you could say almost all of them, at least in the American League. I'll say the top teams. Tampa Bay, number one. The thing about the Rays is their postseason experience. They use essentially a lot of their nerdy methods that they use in the regular season does not transfer to the postseason. My Boston Red Sox. The starting pitching. What happens with Garrett Crochet? Does he come back in a bullpen role? Does he even come back at all? And Roman Anthony coming back. In terms of what can this lineup do when it comes to the postseason? Because of course, as great as it has been, and of course turning that big long winning streak around to get back into the mix, what can they do against the top pitching staffs? The Yankees. What's Aaron Judge going to be back? I mean, if Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, they essentially can beat anybody.
There's a rumor right now in that regard, Ben. Rumor is Colorado series, so like September 8th.
Yeah, I mean, which is of course great. Don't get me wrong, but even if Aaron Judge is coming back, what type of Aaron Judge are you going to be getting? Are you be getting the guy that's going to be coming back before injury that is ready to go? Hitting bomb after bomb. Even just kind of lengthen that line. I mean, getting Bellinger back, I think is already huge as is. But you have these newcomers, and Heliot Ramos and Luis Garcia Jr. No offense to them. I mean, Heliot Ramos, I think, was just whatever type of move. I mean, he can't.
Garcia, I'll defend. I think he's done well in the field. He's had his moments at bat. Ramos is struggling, but I think that's because Ramos, again, another one of these guys who should be a bench piece, but because of the injuries the Yankees have had, they've put him at bat and they put him in the field constantly.
They put him in the 3-hole, which makes the most
no sense.
That makes the worst part of it. I think the one thing about the Yankees, though, that they're getting to is Spencer Jones figuring it out. Because I think early on, Spencer Jones is kind of a mystery, but I just told myself that he has the power. He definitely is somebody that can figure it out.
Well, the recent lineup shuffle was because the offense was struggling that Aaron Boone recently said, he basically said we're throwing to the wall and seeing what sticks and what doesn't.
Right. The rest of the American League, and these are not a knock on these teams. Like you mentioned, Dave, the White Sox, right? Great fun story. The Guardians, they're a team that's just a small to the line. There's no other team that I'm seeing. I mean, obviously the Tigers, of course, they retooled. They moved on with a bunch of their guys. The West, the Astros, to me, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of an older type of team, an older aging type of team. Texas, the Mariners look terrible. They haven't looked great at all to me. So I think at the AL, it's the three teams. It's my Sox, it's your Yankees, and it's the Rays. Those are the three teams right now that I think have a viable chance to go deep, if anybody. And then you talk about just the National League. I think the Braves, I mean, I know obviously the Braves obviously have a bunch of injuries, but if they can just keep their rotation together, you got Sale, you got Strellenbach, you have a bunch of pieces there. If Ronald Acuna could be Ronald Acuna, they could beat anybody. The Cubs, I love Nick's pick with the Cubs because if there's any team the Dodgers have issues with, and it's been proven to, it's the Cubs. They just give this team a ton of fits. But can they do it when it matters most? Because the Dodgers are like that pest that never goes away. So,
well, Johnny, on the other end of that, what contender would you least want to face in October right now?
The way that there's now, see, I said this before the Weathers injury. I still want to play the Yankees because that rotation 1 through 4. Find me a better team. Find me a team in baseball that has a better 1 through 4 starting rotation than the Yankees do.
Dodgers is the exception, possibly.
Maybe the Dodgers. Yeah, that's why if I was to put a top 3 right now, I would go Dodgers, Brewers, Yanks, 1, 2 as my top 3 right now in baseball. Now, the Weathers injury actually does hurt that argument that I had because my argument would have been that I would have actually slotted Weathers into the 4th spot and I would have put Rodon in the bullpen come playoff time. Now with his injury, now with the injury to Weathers, and it sounds like it's going to be a 4 to 5 week thing, so he may be back in October. You might have to put Weathers into the bullpen if he does come back in time for the playoffs, and maybe Rodon is your 4. But I mean, if you look at that, if now, of course, they need to be fully healthy, and that we haven't seen the Yankees full pitching starting rotation be that. But if they're fully healthy in October, I mean, you're telling me Fried, Cole, Schlittler, and Rodon 1 through 4. I mean, that's scary, guys. Of course, it'll all come down to their offense in the playoffs, which has always been an issue. And I'm hoping Judge is back. I know, Tom, you're talking about September 8th. You know, he's cutting it very close with the end of the minor league season, so you'd like to get him in a couple of games down in the minors. Maybe if the Yanks have a comfortable enough lead in the wild card spot, maybe you can ease him in the majors and have him a few at-bats. But you'd like to get him at least some at-bats down in a rehab spot before he comes back. But he, you know, just from a lineup perspective, from a team perspective, a locker room perspective, having him back, I mean, changes it
drastically. Yeah. All right. Then we have the other part to everything, which is the CBA to end things for tonight. The current MLB CBA expires December 1st, and the salary cap obviously being the major issue, separating owners and players. The lockout being a real possibility, potentially all of 2027. And now a wrinkle is I don't know where this report originated. I know Polymark had put out the idea. There's a lot of speculation on if President Trump will maybe get himself involved to bring the lockout to a quicker end. We did see this attempted once during the 94-95 strike where President Clinton tried to get both sides to the table. Ultimately, that was not a success. They still had to resolve things on their own, partially because, you know, the president can't overrule things between a private organization like Major League Baseball. Nick, starting with you, is a salary cap actually good for baseball? Is it needed? Does it need a floor? Where are we at with this at this point?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if a salary cap's good for baseball or not. I will say if there is a salary cap, I think there should be a salary floor, so you don't reward cheap owners. I'll also say I'm not convinced the issue with baseball is a lack of a salary cap. Even if you want to talk about the Dodgers deferring money, that's not necessarily about a lack of a salary cap. That has much more to do with loopholes in the CBA where you can defer money. That you don't need a salary cap to solve that issue. I think if anything in baseball, the biggest issue is the fact that they're arguing about a salary cap, not necessarily whether there is or isn't a salary cap.
It's fair. On that note, well, Christy says there needs to be a cap in my opinion.
Can I just point something out? It is kind of weird when people talk about salary caps because it's people siding with the billionaires over the millionaires.
Right.
Thinking that they're siding with the little guy, but they're not. They're actually siding with the side that is much richer.
Right.
Those are the ones fighting for the salary caps. It's an interesting
Nick, in situations like this, I have no sympathy for anybody because they both have been making millions. That's why the COVID lockout pissed me off, was because all these, they're making millions of dollars. The owners are making so much more, and people were losing their jobs left and right and being furloughed left and right.
Well, the thing is that people talk about how much money players make. Well, wait till you hear about how rich the owners are. The owners are the players. So, I mean, that's got to go both ways.
And that's why Chrissy's right. Fine, but porque no las dos, as I would always say. You got to have both. You need to have both.
Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately,
again, no, but Nick, going back to when we got MTGP a couple of weeks ago, Dodgers, Tariq Skubal. The Tigers are still in the mix for the hunt. They did not need to get rid of him.
By that logic, the Tigers are ruining baseball just as much as the Dodgers are. The Dodgers didn't kidnap Tariq Skubal.
Yeah.
They traded him.
Unnecessarily. David, can MLB, you mentioned the 94-95 strike earlier. Can MLB afford another labor stoppage after everything we've gone through?
I mean, everything is cruising in terms of how they're doing well with everything. I mean, they're doing well. I just think, though, that they just both sides want to self-inflict themselves in terms of gunshots, but basically because they want to wreck it because it's like you said, millionaires and billionaires bitching over money. But I mean, I feel like that they're doing well. I think I don't know. It's just the whole thing that there's just a mess there and they need to fix it. But I just think both sides are hell bent on just wrecking it. And then they'll point the finger at it's your fault. No, it's your fault. So.
And in the end, everybody loses.
Yeah.
I guess, Johnny, in terms of the presidential angle to this, if you're a player, how much do you trust any outside intervention, political or not, in negotiations?
It won't make a difference.
That's fair.
Very, very simple response, Tom. It won't make a difference, and this will impact the game for years. Remember the '94 strike. It took them at least 4 years. It took until the steroid race at home run race in '98 for baseball.
Yeah.
Yep.
This will be the same thing because on the field, while it's a popular product, the game has a lot of issues. So it'll take them a long time to come back from this.
And we talk about the issues with the WNBA, how it distracts from on the court stuff. Something like this, it doesn't matter how good the talent is on the field. The fans will feel jaded. And just Ben, I guess that perfect transition. If MLB gets locked out, what does it take to prevent this from costing regular season games? And B, who has the most to lose? Owners, players, or fans?
The second question, I think, probably I would say it's the TV deals. I think is one of them. That's obviously a massive one. Players. I mean, the PA. Obviously, you remember Bryce Harper the last time we had a lockout. How much of a guy he was trying to have. Kind of when it was prolonging to become a voice of it. I think everybody is honestly at a loss here. The fans obviously they're going to get to a point in time where hey, we don't care how many games it is. Obviously we're the draw, we're the entertainment. The players essentially are the ones that give the fans the entertainment, but you also have the top, of course, who is the ones that are making the decisions. And then what was your first question? Sorry, Tom.
What does it take to prevent any loss of regular season games right now? If it's possible, or if you think that's just we're going to lose games.
I think we're just going to lose games. I mean, at this point in time, I don't see right now between now and between next year. I don't see when it comes to December. I think we're just going to be at a complete standstill. So I don't see any games currently being played unless there was something drastic between, I'd say probably December and February.
And that's going to do it. Over the last 2.5 hours, we covered a pretty remarkable amount of ground, from the Buss family feud and the future of Lakers ownership to Mark Walter, the Dodgers, Padres, and the increasingly complicated business side of professional sports. We've talked about the NBA's ongoing investigation to Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, some major moves around the league, whether ESPN is becoming a little too McAfee heavy. We remembered Bill Rasmussen and the enormous impact he's had on sports media. We also try to figure out exactly what the future holds for LIV golf after another major shakeup. And then, of course, football is finally here. The NFL is heading into its final preseason week. College football's week 0 is right around the corner. And somehow we may have just witnessed a player go from the NFL back to college football. Daquan Wright potentially going from the Browns to LSU is one of those stories that would have sounded completely ridiculous a few years ago. And now we're sitting here talking about what it can mean for the entire future of the sport. And we finished with baseball, where the postseason races are heating up at exactly the same time, and another battle is beginning to take shape off the field. The MLB labor situation could become one of the biggest stories in sports once the current CBA expires. And the possibility of another lockout is something everyone around the sport is going to be watching very closely. If there was one theme tonight, I think that's the sports world is changing incredibly quickly. Ownership changing hands for billions of dollars. Players moving between leagues in ways we've never seen before. Media companies increasingly built around personalities. And the line between sports, business, entertainment, politics, and technology continues to get blurrier by the day. A huge thank you to Nick DiMartino, David Waitman, Johnny Montalbano, and Ben Cruz for joining me tonight and bringing 4 very different perspectives to the conversation. And of course, thank you to everyone watching live, everyone hanging out in the chat, everyone who spent part of their Sunday evening with us here on the ETB Lounge. If you enjoyed tonight's show, make sure to subscribe to the Empty the Bench Podcast Network here on YouTube so you don't miss everything we've got coming your way. Football season officially knocking on the door, and the entire ETB network is getting ready for a very busy fall. And don't forget to check out the football forecast and Forever Power 5 as we get ready for the return of the NFL and college football. Plenty more coming your way across the network. And, of course, don't forget to follow at ETB Network on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and at the ETB Lounge for the show. As for me, Nick and Callan supposedly will be back again together next Sunday, but if they don't show up, that I'm now, 3 for 4 filling in for this August, so I'm beginning to think this whole guest host thing is becoming a little permanent. Might have to change the locks and start renovating the place.
All right.
All right.
See you guys next week.
What happened?
I said see you guys next week.
So, don't forget, Nick DiMartino, Johnny Albano, back with you tomorrow at noon for another edition of Moving the Goalpost, early edition of Moving the Goalpost. And then you'll have me at normal time, 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for Fight IQ. And then, of course, Dave and Ben, you'll check out on Hitting for the Cycle later for this week as well.
On Friday for me.
All right. So for everyone here at the Empty the Bench Network, I'm Tom Albano. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the week ahead, and we'll see you next time here on the ETB Lounge. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Right.